time is now.
NUFC Early Night News with Gary DeJordy Yum Yum, Andrew Boki, Christina Cage, and Derek the Mighty Wind. Weekdays from 8 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. USA. NUFC Talk.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. We have the mighty triumvirate this evening for some reason, and not quite sure why. We're working on it. But good evening, everybody. Welcome along. Everybody, I hope, in fairly good spirits after last night's performance. I know I am. At least I would have been if I hadn't spent all day trying to track down some malware and viruses on my computer. But that's another story altogether. We'll not go there. Let's get a bit of housekeeping done. Don't forget, if you enjoy what we're doing, smash the likes, become a member. You'll be getting a lot more content for your money coming up very shortly, because we are going to be on DAB digital radio throughout the Northeast. So you can listen to us 24 hours a day, or on any of your other podcasts that you generally use. How's Christina this evening?
I'm very well, thank you very much for asking. Delighted with the performance yesterday, of course. A great match to watch as well. I'm sure the neutrals all enjoyed that as well. But yeah, very, very good today. Thank you for asking.
Well, great after the first 20 minutes, I might say.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair though, that's one of my favourite things about last night's game, is that we were like really being peppered for the first 20 minutes, and like I think a lot of people, their heads had dropped. The commentators on the actual sports channel was saying, "Oh, Newcastle are going to get turned over." We conceded a penalty which we saved, so there was that massive high, and then we conceded the goal straight after. And I mean, I was reading some of the comments even in our chat saying, "Oh, this is going to be embarrassing. I don't want to watch that." And then by the end of the game, everybody had their head held high. We came out, like all of the players in the team came out smelling of roses. So yeah, kind of my favourite thing that we were so badly under the cosh and then turn it around.
I never get sick of saying we are really, genuinely, sincerely, veritably, certainly, undoubtedly, authentically, thoroughly, completely, fully, properly, soundly, absolutely, totally, quite entirely, downright knackered. And that was it. 20 minutes into the game from our beloved leader.
I think a lot of people felt like that, to be fair. I think a lot of people were like, I mean, as I say, in the chat, there was a lot of people who were like, "Oh, I might as well just go and watch one of the soaps." And I mean, I can understand why. I mean, Paris Saint-Germain came looking for that win. They needed that win. They were playing really well. They had the top team out there. They were flicking the ball around. But I mean, by the end of the game, it was us that were doing that. I mean, Anthony Gordon, when he came on, absolutely had their right back's life. I mean, he was playing like their players are absolutely at the top of the game.
Certainly did. Boogie, what was the thoughts?
To be fair, the first 20 minutes, I think it was circumstance that were sort of the problems that we had in that. It wasn't necessarily that we went out to started playing bad. I think the handball incident obviously probably shook the players quite a bit in regards to the thinking, "Oh, here we'll go again." You know, we're getting a bad decision against her. And then obviously the save that, so the euphoria would have went up a little bit. And then it was only about 3-4 minutes after that we conceded the goal, which again was a world class goal, really, really, really good goal. So I think from that point, I think the first 20 minutes you've got to say at least the sort of didn't concede again in that period and settled themselves down. And I mean, the rest of the first half, neither team, I mean, I was going to say neither team were great. Paris Saint-Germain were a brilliant team, obviously, all the time. But they didn't cause massive amounts of threat. I mean, they were always going to be a threat to her, but we weren't sort of constantly under the cosh. And I think getting the goal back just before half time was a massive thing for her in regards to building our confidence, and then probably starting to think, hang on, we've battered them for the first 20 minutes. We've had control of the game for the rest of the half. Because I think at one point, Michael put a stat up there saying that They had 80% possession in the game.
Yeah.
So,
And it's where we've been in the past as well, by the way, where we've got an early goal battered and then suddenly conceded a one and downhill thereafter. But just let's start there for a start. That penalty decision. What can you say about that? You know,
well, you
it goes to VAR. The ref goes and has another look at it. What's going wrong with refereeing and VAR?
Well, I think what it says to you is if you're in the Champions League and you're in the box, you see a player with his arm anywhere but it's close away from his body, just flick the ball up and try to hit his arm because you'll get a penalty for it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what else could Miley have done there? A ball flicked off another player's arm onto his arm.
Exactly.
So it was
And that's the point I'm making. If
guessing
they're saying the ball hit Miley's arm and the referee's having to look at that, then surely he sees it hitting the Paris player's arm first.
I've been
So he says, right, hitting the Paris player's arm is accidental.
Yeah.
Not intentional. But it's only because it hits his arm and then Miley's body that it hits his arm. And not only that, at that stage, the ball is going away from goal.
Well,
How many more things, I'm thinking to myself, how many more things would litigate in favour of not giving a penalty and yet they still give the penalty?
I think I haven't seen the match report from the referee yet. I've been trying to find it and I haven't been able to find it the day. But in regards to that, I think what the referee and the VAR will say is that the attacker's arm was down by his body, so it wasn't in an unnatural position. Miley's arm was outstretched, which was because he was trying to get back and obviously stop himself running into the player, but it wasn't next to his body. So they'll say his was sort of in line with his body, so it was in a natural position. Miley's arm wasn't. But how you can have a penalty give for that? It's not even as if it was like a going into the goal or anything, or heading towards goal, or heading towards one of their players that was going to have a shot. It was just it was a nothing incident. If that had just been played on and nothing else said, nobody would have bashed an eyelid at it.
No.
I think what the referee might have looked at, because I watched that decision like a few times, like the handball. I think potentially when he's went over to view it on the screen, they've watched like just the handball without the precursor. So if you watch the full thing, he's chasing back, he's trying to catch up this guy, his arms are waving about. If you don't watch any of that, and you literally just watch after it bounces off the Paris Saint-Germain's player's arm, Miley's hand kind of moves, and it's a natural thing, like he's not doing it on purpose. But if you don't see the way that he's running, it does kind of look in that one frame like he's purposely batting the ball with his hand. And I think that's what they've looked at out of context in regards to the run. And I think that's why it's been given. And I think that's how they're going to try to defend it as well when the ref report does come out.
As if they come in and defend the referee straight away. Geordie Yam Yam appears on the scene. We're just,
VAR.
as you may have heard, we are just
via VAR. Yeah, absolutely.
No,
Apologies.
no,
I've been since 22 blooming 8. I've been online trying to get online. They're in touch with the Wi-Fi people, wondering why my Wi-Fi ain't working, and they keep telling me, "Oh, there's a problem on the line." Oh, I thought them days had gone a long time. There was a problem on our line yesterday. We just couldn't get it over the blooming line to get a second goal. I've just caught the tail end as I've connected everything back up, and I gather you're talking quite nicely about the refereeing decisions, which was appalling, if I say the least. And listen, I understand, UEFA have got potentially different rules. And I think, if you look at it from that aspect, I think football should be played like with football, and it shouldn't have to get into all this. I mean, to be honest with you, yesterday, I could have probably put a flat pack wardrobe up following their instructions better than I could have watch that refereeing decisions yesterday because it was appalling. And you know what annoys me, and I quite get what you're saying, Boki, about, is it a natural position? The referee said it was hand to ball movement rather than the ball to hand, which, if I'm honest with you, it's absolute tosh. And if you look at the Marquinhos one, when Voltemada in their box went ahead of the ball and it came off Marquinhos' arm, again, is that a natural position? Because his arms was literally, out by his side, literally trying to govern Voltemada. So, like I said, it just seems to me as though every time you go to Paris, you have to question some of the officiating. And you know what? The one thing I must admit, even though Eddie Howe come out and said he didn't think either of them were penalties, and that's fair play to him, because there's probably a lot of managers out there would have thrown not only the rattle. I mean, we saw Dan Burn and Tyndall in the tunnel at half time, giving the referee a bit of a dressing down, but he was definitely wrong in some of his decision. Irish is saying there, referee Slavko Vinci initially did not award a penalty, but did so after VAR review, deciding Miley's action was intentional, despite the ball appearing to strike him by surprise. So they report. There you go. And I was always, like I said, maybe it's the PGMOL that have decided if the ball gets deflected off a body part onto your hand, then they don't see that as deliberate handball. But obviously, in Europe, they see it totally different. Well, they do against Newcastle anyway.
Yeah, I think that... Sorry.
No, go on, Christina.
No, I was literally going to say the explanation that Gary's just read out from the comment from Irish Tuna Assassin it kind of backs up exactly what I was saying. If they've watched that one part where his hand seems to move towards the ball. Wow, I don't know what happened to my accent there. Sorry, but what happened there? But yeah, and I think if you just watch that 2-second freeze frame and you don't pay attention to the build up to that, that's for me what they've watched when he's being called over to the VAR screen.
Yeah, I mean, it's I just find when a referee doesn't give it on field, the VAR, if they feel as though it's a mistake, then they're well within the rights to say, I think you should look at that again. Because once you do that, once you do that though, you are literally highlighting the referee for making a mistake, aren't you? As soon as you send him to the monitor,
only if he agrees with him.
But I mean, you've heard of the referee that went against the Man City rule the other day. He's now been asked to be demoted. So, they are governed quite heavily. I mean, I remember the days where you used to have somebody in the stands watching every official. I mean, it's all televised now. I mean, obviously, I'm talking back in the day when there wasn't all televised. And you used to have somebody from the refereeing association actually watching you and marking you down. I'd like to see them back. I really would, because, for me, unless you're there, you don't get the feeling of the game by watching it on the monitor. And that's what I'm saying. It just felt strange. And again, the free kick on Elanga when Kvaratskhelia had to go off. And then gets booked. And I know you come in, Boki, and said it was for a previous challenge. Now, I've gone back and watched the build-up to that foul, and I couldn't see anything.
I actually couldn't get the footage back. The only reason I came in and said that, Gary, was because when the Newcastle players started arguing, he pointed up the field. I don't know if you've seen him do that, as if to say it's something that happened beforehand.
Right. Well, see, when I looked at that, I'm thinking he's telling him to get away. So maybe it was more for misconduct rather than.
I thought it was because he appealed for the foul. I thought it was because the referee decided that he was being too mouthy or something. But it was crazy. I've never seen such a bemused reaction by a group of fans than when we got a free kick and the player who got fouled got a yellow card for it. I've never seen such a reaction.
No, well, we were all flabbergasted, when we were doing the commentary. It was like, what's going on here? And then when he gave us the free kick, it just made it worse because, like I said, it's been a long time since I've looked at football rules. I must admit, but they seem to change depending on where you play. There's one here from Chevelle's Nasser El Khalifa, the PSG president, is on the UEFA executive committee. How is this not a conflict of interest? It stinks. Yeah. I mean, like I say, I've said all along, money gets you a long way in competitions. And it seems as though PSG have built a team and they were outstanding. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from PSG. The first 20, 25 minutes, it was very difficult to watch because it looked like it was going to be how many are we going to concede rather than how many are we going to score. But it worked out, and you've got to give credit where credit's due, I suppose. I had got everything lined up today. I've been working really hard behind the scenes. And like I say, just when I come back to get everything ready for the show, my computer said, no, I don't want to play today.
Says no.
The computer says no.
I'm just checking up there, and there are still assessors and observers.
They are there, are they?
Present in the crowd to watch matches and provide detailed, independent reports on performance.
Yeah, so what I've got, and again, this is something that I was going to do a bit more of a deeper dive on. I know the lads later on will do a little bit more on the obviously the rumours, if you like, the rumour mill. But what I first looked today is just showing on the screen now, where you've got a little bit where we were at the start, the first 20 minutes, and if you like, it was very bitty. It was like one player in midfield, really, because you'd got then the lads going on the high press. So we all questioned what system it was going to be. And it varied because, like I say, you talk about fluidity. The one thing I noticed in the first 20 minutes, we looked lost a little bit, having rewatched it. We looked a little bit like, I said, Eddie Howe even himself admitted post-match that a lot of the tactical work on the build-up of the match was actually done in the hotel because of the delay that they'd had in Newcastle getting into Paris. He hadn't got enough time to actually work everything out. So he was literally out there with his clipboard trying to do something while they were in the hotel having a meal. So as you can see, there's a lot of distance trying to get the half press, if you like. It's 3v3 up top. And like I say, Tonali has got the space to go to, Vitina, who for me was absolutely excellent. I can't believe this lad played for Wolves. And again, you can just see what he was like when he used to play in the lower leagues at Wolves, by the way, before he moved into the Premier League and then was snapped up by PSG. So this was the start. And then after 25 to 30 minutes, it changed to this. And as you can see, a totally different effort. Everybody had virtually gone man for man. And again, we talk about what we were saying on Tuesday evening. The one thing that PSG don't like is to be pressed and be pressed back. And what Newcastle, by the 25th minute, started to find their way. Yeah, and yes, we were 1-0 down from a very good goal from outside the box, but it was just the way they developed the role, the way they wanted to play. Now, whether that was further instructions from Eddie Howe, again, there was so much going on that field of play while we were commentating. It was very difficult to try and pick up a natural position of the players because sometimes they went on high, sometimes they'll drop off into the 5-4-1. But when they got into the PSG half, when they had the ball, you could see this type of work happening more and more. And like I said, to think that these boys covered a lot more yardage than PSG. I think it was 9 extra kilometres or 7 to 9 extra kilometres they ran. I think at the end of the day, a lot of that was because we didn't have the ball enough.
Exactly.
if I'm
Just
honest with you.
chasing shadows.
Absolutely, but it just proves that the fact that yes, it looked sloppy, and at times we did look like it was going to be one-way traffic. Once they got the rhythm and they'd got the belief. To be fair, PSG played in front of us. They didn't really, a couple. I mean, if you look at the amount of, again, this is where stats and the eye test often differs, because they had, I think it was double the amount of shots that we had, but we were closer to getting that second goal, a lot more than PSG was. So, like I said, possession is only 9/10 of the law, isn't it?
Yeah. But anyway, the beauty was that the penalty was saved. And
absolutely.
We all thought, wow, here we go. It's not so bad after all.
No, you're right, Win. But it's like I said, it frustrates you, and it frustrates you in a way that you think, we save a penalty, which to me was dessert. You know what I mean? It was like I say, you didn't deserve it in the first place.
Did you come fair?
Absolutely. But then it frustrates you because you get beaten from 22 yards. And it was, again, a very coolly taken goal into the bottom left-hand corner, to which he saved the penalty by Vitina. And again, you start saying to yourself, is that something that we need to be better at? Again, it's like with Louis Saul, it was as if he'd asked him to go and get a baguette, because he dispatched Louis Saul so well when he dummied him, brought it back onto his right foot, and then just stroked it, if you like, into that bottom corner. And that was the frustrating thing with me. They'd got out of jail with the penalty that wasn't, and then all of a sudden, not long after, they hit you on the sucker punch. We'd gone a little bit too deep, and again, that to me was why I said we were lost a little bit in our shape. It didn't matter without playing them three at the back. I don't think anybody knew which player to pick up when they were running in. Was that Tonali's man? Was it Ramsey's man? You know what I mean? There was so many variations to it.
It was kind of a double-edged sword, wasn't it? Because not only did we it appeared, not know which player was whose, but also the way PSG were playing, where they were just constantly interchanging positions, that even if the players had a designated man to mark or whatever, unless they were going to be running around all over the place, well, it wouldn't have worked, because PSG were that good in the first 20 minutes.
But I wanted to ask you guys, again, just going on with what we just seen there, that it took 20 to 25 minutes to get us going. If the tactics, and I'm trying to think in the coach's head now, if the tactics are right, but the execution on the pitch is wrong, is that the fault of the players for not able to execute it? Or is it the coach's problem for trying to give them too much to think about?
I mean, I think go on, Boggy.
No, go on, Christina, you're fine.
No, you let me go first.
That's like a broken record, between you two.
After you.
Go on, one of you.
Well, with that, I think what you've got to see is we can talk about tactics and things like that, but PSG were really, really good for the first for the first half, basically. And you can put all the tactics down in the world, you can plan everything out, but if you're playing a team that's got better players than you and are playing well, there's not always a great deal that you can do against it. So you can plan, you can have things in place. I mean, he obviously set up to make sure we weren't going to get battered in the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes, so we were still in the game, which worked. I mean, yes, we conceded the goal. It could have been two with the dodgy decision, but it wasn't, and we played our way into the game. And once we started to get the ball, then you've seen his tactics starting to come out. So I think part of it is that sometimes you've just got to say, you've got to hang on by the scruff of your pants, scruff of your shirt, really, isn't it? Hang on by the scruff of your shirt. Seat of your pants.
Depends.
Hang on by the seat of your pants at times, and let them have the ball, because you can't get it off them basically. But then when you do get the ball, that's when you want to see your players start to implement the tactics, and they did. And I think Eddie shot ball. To be fair, I'll be honest, I put in the group chat, I just thought he had picked names out of a hat for the team. I didn't know how the hell what he
No, this
it
was him
was.
doing all the rotation that you wanted. Look
Oh
what
no,
happened when he did.
no. I didn't mind the rotation, but it just they didn't seem to be actually. I mean, I don't know if you watched the early show with Peter and the Doc, but they were sitting there for about 20 minutes trying to work out what team we were
Who
actually
was
going to
play
play,
where?
what formation we're going to do. And I think they came up with about 20 different formations with players playing in about 20 positions. So it was great to see that, and it was great to see rotation. And you know what? I think these are probably the games where maybe the likes of a Ramsey and a Willock do come into their own in regards to giving us something different. I mean, you don't want to lose the two Brazilian lads, but if they're not available in the big games like this, it shows they can step up to the plate a little bit. I think one thing we can all see is that Miley's great in some central midfielder, can cover well at right back, but he's certainly not a right wing back. He just hasn't got
Well,
the pace, has he?
I'm going to come back to that in a second, because I thought it was very clever by PSG and the way, like, I keep saying about managers, or coaches, whichever way you want to talk about it. Sometimes they will try and work an angle to make the opposition change. And I thought what PSG did really well was do just that. Now, before I move on to the next part, because this is all linked up to my notes that I'd written down for tonight's show. If I go to Christina, just going back to what I said, do you believe that was, if the players can't execute it, is it the players' fault, or is it just confusion because the gaffers made a plan B that nobody knew about?
I mean, obviously, definitely not on the score, like, drawing a line on the fact that, but Bulky mentioned if the team's as good as PSG are, you're going to struggle anyway. But I think generally it proves that it's the players adapting, because, as you said, after that first 20 minutes, they did adapt to that. And I don't think once the team's out there, unless somebody allegedly tells their left back to go and tell their goalkeeper to fall down so that you can change the tactics. Once they're out there, there's not a lot that you can really do to make that much of it. Like, there's no way he's just shouted, "Lads, defend better like this," and then it's all of a sudden changed. I think the formation, it's a new formation. Big Dan Burn was coming back after, to be fair, a massive injury, and I think it did possibly take the players a little bit of time to adapt to the tactics, because then, as you said, later on in the game, they did come into it. But I do agree with Bulky, where I think it was just genuinely, like, PSG just came out of nowhere, and I think it did kind of caught us cold. But yeah, players definitely adapted to that. So I would say that was, I mean, not on the players that it went like that, but I would definitely say it was more the players adapting to the tactics taking time rather than Eddie getting the tactics wrong. Can I just say, though, when you asked me what my formation would be the night before the game, I said I would bring Dan Burn back, I would play 3 at the back, and I would start Alanga if Bruno wasn't fit. So I'm not saying that win was all thanks to me. I'm just saying, it wasn't not thanks to me.
Yeah,
Well
exactly.
done,
You
you.
rang Eddie up. What's your thoughts, Win?
Just to say there quickly, we didn't win.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't get beat. It felt like a win, I
Get
tell you.
beat out thanks to Chris.
That's the words. It felt like a win, didn't it?
Felt like a win.
You had to take me shine off us, Bulky. You couldn't just let us have one bit of happiness.
I've been too
It
happy
should have
tonight.
been
I
a
had to
win.
put it out.
At the death, it should definitely have been a win, which we'll come on to. But is it not reminiscent, as I just said before, about the times that Newcastle have taken an early lead and had all the play, the majority of possession, but suddenly you get hit on the break, and that's kind of what we did. I think
Yeah.
the
I mean, I've seen
possession at
us.
one stage, as Boki was saying, was like 80-20 to them.
Did you see
Seen us play-
Vitinha's comments after the game? Because it almost sounded like an NUFC TV podcast. Like, he literally, the words he said was, "We created lots of chances, we just couldn't score the goal." And when you do that, it was literally word for word. He was talking like the way that we've spoke about so many games this season. And the second I watched it, I was like, I hope the guys have watched this, because this is crazy. Like, it's like hearing it back about us, everything that we say about all of these other teams.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to like what I was saying, and the reasons why I brought this conversation up is because for all intents and purposes, you know, when it's not working and you can see we were struggling. Now, Balky just said about poor old Miley there. Now, again, what you've got to understand is the way it was set up with Miley had Bacola. And we all know Bacola's pacey. He's got a lot going for him. Not only have you got that, you've got Neves and Zaire-Emery was on the crossover, if you like. And I thought Neves was pretty poor for most of it. But what they do and did very well was they will move the likes of Kvaratskhelia over to the left-hand side as well. So Miley was actually dealing with two very good wingers at times. And that was our problem. And that's what I said. It would have been so easy for Eddie Howe to have thrown the towel in the first 15 minutes and say, this is getting worse. I need to deal with it and go back to a system that the lads know. And that's what I said. You know, sometimes you know the system works. You just want the players to get it right. And I think that for me was the biggest head bow I can give Eddie Howe, because it's like the best chance to get something from the game. It just needed that familiarity. I can never say that word. They just needed to be sure. That's the one. They just need to be sure of and believe what the gaffer had told them. And as the time went on, and they, you know, like I said, you could see PSG getting nowhere once Miley and the lads had handled what was coming. I mean, you know, you got to think, Douay coming on off the bench once Kvaratskhelia had gone off, you know, again, doubling up down that one side. Miley, bless him, again, this is people doing the homework. They knew there was a potential weakness there because it's not his natural position, and they bombarded him. And yes, he made some mistakes because he was left wide open by the three upfield sometimes, because, like I say, we did lose three bodies of play going forward, you know, and virtually you saw it on the first snip. It was 5-1. You know what I mean? It was such a weird system. And poor Altonali sat in the middle of the park looking like Billy No-Mates at times.
I liked his beard yesterday, though, just on a side note.
Oh, yes.
On another side note, there was a comment from Toon that Villa have gone 1-0 down. Can I just say, in sympathy to the Villa fans, get in! Sorry, continue.
Yeah, exactly. Woohoo! It's the Salzburg, aren't they? That's Steve will be jumping through hoops because that's his team, isn't it?
No, he's Strasbourg.
Oh, it's Strasbourg. Oh, yeah, fair enough. So yeah, I just thought that would be really good. You know, like I say, I mean, all thoughts running through Eddie Howe's head in the first 15 minutes of the game, and this is where his staff and analysts can feed into that process, his decision making, if you like. There was a lot wrong in that opening 15 minutes, but recognising the outcome, if they get it right, comes with experience. And like I said, sometimes we have far too many people critique. I'm not going to say criticise, but critique Eddie Howe by not having the ability to play a plan B. When yesterday you saw when that plan B worked, and it wouldn't surprise me whether we take that to Anfield, if I'm honest with you, with a similar setup and really go for it. Because like I say, it seemed to work for me probably against the best side in Europe when they play well. And I think they, you know, Dembele, you know, then he wasn't getting any joy through the middle. He goes out to the right-hand side. You know, Douay then goes through the middle. They were trying so many different overloads to try and get us to change positions. It was crazy the way, again, you know, this is what I said. This is my downfall for Eddie Howe, is he doesn't change it up enough with the system that he's got on the field of play. They played with a 4-3-3 as we play, but it never really looked like a 4-3-3 when you was watching the game. The amount of movement that PSG had was very, very good.
But is that not what Eddie says all the time? He says, people look at it as a 4-3-3 on paper, but it's never a fixed 4-3-3.
You know what I think made the big difference yesterday as well? One of the big differences was Dan Burn being back in the team as a centre back. He was brilliant
And
throughout
being
that
captain.
game, man of the match. I was just going to mention that win, and it's nice to have. Bruno's a great player. I've said this throughout his time at Newcastle. I love him to bits, but he's not a captain. Burn gave a captain's performance yesterday. He was shouting at players. He was, geeing players up. You could see him, actually speaking to players on the pitch. He wasn't just like turning around and clapping the fans up in the corner. He was actually geeing the team up and shouting at them if they were getting things wrong. It was a proper, not only a good performance from himself, so leading them on the field, but also a captain's performance in regards to trying to get the best out of the other players on the field as well. And not only he patted them on the back if they did something right, but if they did something wrong, the son knew about it as well.
We mentioned when he got injured how we were going to miss him as a leader. Sorry, go on, Gary.
Yeah.
That was all I was adding.
No, you're absolutely right.
I think, like I say, for me, Bruno was on the side of and you could see, him and Asula were having a chat during the first half, the first 25 minutes when the camera panned over to them a couple of times, and you could see there was concern across the players that were watching it because, like I say, it became very heavily dominated, and like you say, it just needed time, it just needed patience, and like I said, sometimes watching it the way we watched it, the amount of times Wynn was going, "Oh, don't pass it there, and don't give it there," and that's how it got you because you just knew every time you passed the ball back to them, they were that good. It could have been a shot towards goal, and I thought Palpy did really well. I thought the back three was solid. Again, if you haven't watched it, go and have a look at Ian and Michael's player ratings if you're a member. And if you ain't a member, why not? Because, like I say, they certainly go through each and every player and do a really good evaluation of it.
Gary, just and like I said, that you had about Win during the game, obviously shouting things like that. I've said a few times when I've either been to the game or watched the game on here, and Win comes on afterwards, and I go, "Have you been to the same game as me? Have you been watching the same thing?" I think he proved last night that he doesn't watch the same game as us when he said, "That's a great cross from Dan Burn, wasn't it?" And you and Michael just sat there and looked at him and went, "Dan Burn." It was where
Joe Willock.
Joe Willock. I mean that was bad form from Win, really bad form.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll take the hit.
It is. It is
it was
what
nice
it
of you
is,
to bring
isn't
it up there, Porky.
It wasn't as bad as mistaking Pope for Tenali.
Well, no, that was hilarious. That was absolutely hilarious. Oh, I love that bit. But I mean, listen.
But the one shot that looked like Pope was there, and then I must have looked somewhere else and just saw the ball go in, and in the meantime, Tenali had replaced Pope, taking it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple of. It's just a shame you can never see it on my screen for some unknown reason. Let me see if I can.
While I'm searching for that, can I just take a second to just say how great Joe Willock played after all of the grief that he's taken so far this season?
Absolutely. I mean, like I say, it looks like now there's lots of other teams coming out the woodwork for said Willock. Like I say, he's probably, that to me was close to his old self, if I'm honest with you. What I've put on the share screen there is the Champions League money that the teams have made during this phase so far. And as you can see, it's not a bad little return from where they are. With the league phase of 25-26 UEFA Champions League now over, an estimated of prize money earned by English clubs so far. Liverpool, 97 million euros, 84 million pounds. Man City, the same. Arsenal, just a little bit less with 83. Chelsea, a little bit less with 80. Spursy, 73. And there's old Newcastle with 47 million.
And that's all down to stadium capacity.
Yeah,
Well, I
all
was
down
just
to
gonna ask, no,
stadium
I was just going to
capacity.
ask on that. Is Chelsea's stadium bigger than ours?
No, it's
No, but
less.
the prices are a lot higher.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's down to the price of tickets, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You see, to get a hamburger and a pint, it's like buying a ticket at Newcastle if you're at Chelsea. So yeah. I mean, look, it comes in all vases, if you like. And for me, the one thing that I really liked was the fact that we are into that qualifying thing. And for me, after 25 years, is it 25 years of waiting now before we were last in this level of competition at this point? I
We've
think
never been
well, didn't we not get this far
Do you know what, Gary? I thought that
under
under Bobby
KK?
Robson. No,
Was it
but I
Bobby
thought that
Robson or
under
KK?
it was
no,
Bobby
not in the
Robson when
Champions League. We've been
no,
quarterfinals in the UEFA Cup when
what I was going to say was,
Marseille beat us in the semi.
I thought that, Gary, as well, because under Bobby Robson, I remember, I kept thinking last night whenever we were saying we've never got to the knockout stage, I thought, well, we came back.
Was
Do
it
you
Bobby
remember the
Robson,
season
wasn't
when
it?
we lost 3 games in a row, then we won the last 3 and qualified, but it
Yeah,
was
but
the
that was
second
when there was
stage.
the two group
There was
stages.
the
The
2
two
group
group
stages, and
stages.
we qualified
Yeah.
for the next group stage,
The
not
next.
not that knockout
Yeah,
We
stage.
never got to a knockout stage.
No, this is
No,
the first time in knockout stage.
So there you go. And that's what I said. And that to me, it's another little feather in the cap, I suppose, because another way of not being able to get to where they need to be. So yeah, for me, it was a great night. Now, I'm looking at the time because we have got to try and fit in the Liverpool game coming our way on Saturday evening, 8:00 kickoff. Again, it's crazy how they get these type of game times now. But I just wanted to ask a couple of questions, if you like. And again, we're going to talk about individuals, and like I say, Nick Pope and defensive resilience, if you like. Because for me, the one thing I was concerned about, we hadn't got another centre back if any of them got injured. I know we could have reverted back to a 4 quite comfortably, not an issue. But was that a risk? Do you guys think playing every single fit centre back that we have at the moment at the club, was it? I mean, obviously now in hindsight, when you look back, it's risk over reward, and he got the reward from it. But for me, that was a hell of a risk to take.
We had options though, didn't we? It wasn't as if one of them got injured, we did, as you say, we could have reverted to a 4. You could have chucked a Miley into a centre back role if you wanted to. It wasn't as if he sort of went out there and didn't have anything at all that he could do if a central defender got injured. So there was a risk. But look at when Byrne was out, we only had 2 fit centre backs, so it was a risk playing them every week. Football is a risk, but sometimes you've got to take the risk, and if you take the risk, you reap the rewards, like we did last night.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because for me, Nick Pope's had a lot of criticism this season. Saves a penalty, keeps us alive, makes a couple of really good stops, but still concedes from the edge of the box. So how do you judge him on his performance last night? And again, some of the questions I'm going to throw at you: is Pope quietly having one of his best European runs? Does his penalty save change the entire tone of the night? And how big was Dan Burns' return? Not just physically, but psychologically.
Oh man, I was about to make a 6'6" joke there, and you've ruined it for us, Gary.
So you can, again, that for me, that was one of the best defensive displays, and I've been one of their critics, if you like, because I've never felt safe against anybody. You look at the Leeds games, you look at the Bournemouth games, where we seem to be able to concede a goal at the drop of a hat. But for some unknown reason, when they get it right, I don't think there's a better team out there defensively. I know that's a big call, but I do believe when you see the way they played tonight and they all knitted together, what's your thoughts on it? Is Pope having one of his best moments in Europe? Does that penalty save give the boys belief? And is Dan Burn, that return, that psychological return, that physical presence on the field, does that also give the rest of the lads that belief that, together we can do something?
Well, I just think that performance yesterday has got to give every one of that squad because bear in mind the players that were involved, all of them, it's got to give them all a massive boost in confidence. If we can go to PSG and do that, bring on Liverpool kind of thing.
Mm.
And then I had a thought.
Well done.
And I was thinking about the Champions League so far and who we've played. And when I saw the final table, I thought, well, like they were 27th. They finished 28th. They finished 29th. How good really was how hard was it? So, because I thought, it was pretty easy. So what I then decided to do in my normal nerdish way was to compare our league section with everybody else's. And this is what we found. If you look at the league positions, where the teams that we played finished, so Barcelona 5th, PSG 27th. Well, that's wrong as well. PSG, I've got them the wrong way around. PSG were 11th. Anyway, if you add them all up, they come to 165. But if you look at Man City and add theirs up, because they were playing teams who finished 29th, 35th, 30th, 23rd for Bodo Glimt, 184. Liverpool, on this basis, had the hardest combined lot, because theirs all add up to 149. But Spurs add up to 205. And then someone in the main media, because I did this at stupid o'clock this morning, but someone in the main media did the same themselves, and it ended up that Newcastle, on that basis, Newcastle had the 5th hardest league stage of any of the clubs, based on where they all finished at the end of the 8 matches. Newcastle had the hardest section, 5th hardest, sorry. Fifth out of 36, which kind of just, isn't that just Newcastle?
Yeah, absolutely.
Never done the easy way.
Wish I could say I understood what you're doing, but it looked good.
Yeah, if you look at what again, this is an interesting one, because I didn't realize. You talk about how much money you can earn in the Champions League, and I can understand now why, if you like, managers per se rather take the money rather than the look at other domestics. Now, up to you can see this is where they finished in the group stages. So the prize for finishing just where they did, you get 40 million for Arsenal finishing at the top, and obviously all the way down to the bottom of that first group that qualified. So Man City at the bottom part of that group, they get 32.9 just for finishing there. And obviously Real Madrid then go into our group, if you like, and they were the winners. And they get 20.9 million, so just under 21 million euros. Newcastle, 19.3. So again, it just proves that what this competition gives you a massive boost. Now, if you look at them,
but it also shows there, doesn't it, Gary? Straight away, there's 21 million. We're already behind Arsenal, and
we're already behind
Champions League.
Yeah, but that's what I said. But
money.
Yeah, but you look at where PSG are, though, buddy. If you're looking at just money itself, you've still got to make it work. And the interesting thing for me, if you'd imagine if we hadn't have lost to Marseille, you know what I mean? If we hadn't have given those 2 stupid goals away in the second half, we'd have been up there in that top group. And
would have been
yeah, absolutely. And that is the crippling thing for me, because where you're looking to close the gap, it's these competitions where you need to be in. And the comment that's come out today by Agbonlahor, if you like, is obviously what I said before. Does Eddie Howe now look at this because we are so far away? And it doesn't matter because the clubs that are in front of us are still going to be that far away when we finish this competition anyway, because you can, as you've just said there, Win, they're already above us now, and they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and to me that's what I'm saying. You don't need to be, we just talked about the referee being a little bit generous towards PSG. They're already a good side, and that's the same. There's no point in having the Premier League giving these clubs reign in the top of the Premier League because they've already got the money behind them. And like I say, they're just going to continue to get bigger and better. And it's going to take a hell of a stadium. Hopefully it's going to be 300,000 like Manchester United wanted until UEFA said no. And you can only get the 100. Going back onto Boki, did I get your take on and Christina? What was your thoughts on what we said before about the back line and Popey?
Do you want to go first, or because otherwise we're just going to clash? I'll take it. I'm going to go first.
Don't fight, you two.
Go for it.
Right. Okay. So, I think Nick Pope has had a fantastic European season. I mean, except for that one wild match that he had, where he decided for no apparent reason, it was like, when a game glitches and it kind of like one of the people on the screen just goes off on its own little adventure. He was off on an adventure in that match and just decided he was going to run up, be a central defensive midfielder. Didn't work out too well, and I think there were a lot of fans who were sick of him at that point. But I think since he's came back into the team, since he's injury / was it an injury / probably, I think he's really kind of shown us how good a goalkeeper he is, that he is Newcastle's number one. And defensively, I mean, I think since Botman and Chow have been like the centre-back pair, and I think defensively we've been phenomenal. And I think adding Dan Burner like yesterday, I mean, it was a real unit. Like if you look when Nick Pope saved the penalty, if you look at who instantly ran over to him, it was those defensive three that were right there celebrating straight away. So I think that has a lot to do with it. But I don't get the hate for Nick Pope. I know every time he gets passed the ball back, it's hearts and mouths. Is he going to kick it to one of our team? Is he going to kick it to one of their team? Is he going to kick it to some lass on row Z on the right hand side of them? You can never really tell. But as far as a goalkeeper who can, kind of help inspire confidence in a defensive unit, I think Nick Pope's absolutely fine for us.
Just out of interest, we've got Phil 2792 there saying PSG playing a false nine meant they always had a spare man. When we changed to man-to-man marking, they couldn't play. I commented on this, if you remember. Dan Burn was following Dembele into his own half.
He was everywhere, wasn't he?
Much as he did, if you remember, against Arsenal, when we turned it over and got the goal, when he was doing exactly the same with Rice.
Yeah.
That if you followed Rice, 20 yards into their hole, where's he gone? But it didn't
when it works. Yeah, I say when it works, it works well.
The only thing I would have said about the defence yesterday was, I think we've found a replacement for Joe Linton in the back line. I think if you watched Paul, he would be a fantastic player doing that role. I think he's not going to stay as a left back. He's going to be either a wide left or he's going to be a centre left midfielder.
I must admit, I agree with you. I think it's an area that he's probably going to have to grow into. For me, he made a few mistakes yesterday that, we lucky that we weren't punished, because he has a tendency, the same as Gordon, to run into traffic at times. And like I say, he's not the strongest player. Yeah, he's light. He's got a great centre of gravity, and it looks great on the offensive when he's beaten 2 or 3 players. But you can't always do that in and around your penalty area. And like I say, he was found out a couple of times yesterday. I didn't think it was his greatest game. But again, it's a different system. Lads really haven't had a lot of time to work on this, and that's why I said it took them 25 minutes to get it there. But again, I don't want to sit here and criticise anybody, because for me that it felt like a win, and there ain't many teams that can say in all the competitions that we've played them 4 times now and we haven't lost. Sorry, 3 times and we haven't lost, I should say, not 4 times.
Just a quick question popped in my head there, Gary. I haven't actually looked up the answer, so I don't know it, but I'm guessing that's a game for a long, long time that we haven't had a Brazilian in the team.
Well, that was I was coming into this. Moving from the back line, my next question was midfield without Bruno, surviving, not thriving, if you like, and that is how it felt, because the amount of work that they were doing. It's like for me, if you think about it, this was like another game where Newcastle functioned without Bruno. It didn't flourish. There was nothing amazing about what those 3 did in midfield at times. But what you'd got was the graft. I always say sometimes and again, if you go back to what Eddie Howe said in the presser when he was praising Bruno, it's a special player that wants the ball all the time, doesn't matter where he is on the park. When you've got players around you, the likes of Ramsey, who's just come into the team, the likes of Miley, and I've picked up on this before, players sometimes, instead of taking onus of responsibility with the ball, with possession, Bruno wants it. He wants it all the time. You pass it 5 yards, it goes sideways and it goes backwards, and then it stops. And yesterday, what you saw was something a bit different. We actually went forward a lot more with that ball. And this isn't a knock towards Bruno, but sometimes when you've got somebody in the park that just wants the ball all the time, you stop that. You don't see the progressive performance from the likes of Ramsey, who I thought had a great game. Willock yesterday, to me, was back to his old best. And if it wasn't, if the man of the match wasn't given to Dan Burn, I'd have probably given it to Willock, if I'm honest with you. And it's been a long time since I've said those words, trust me. So that to me is where I was. But the questions I was going to ask you is, does this game prove Newcastle can cope without Bruno or just survive? Was Tonali quietly excellent or just tidy? Because I know Chris has done a little bit of...
go on the website, have a look.
Some wordage regarding Tonali. We know it's his love child. What did Joe Willock's goal and performance tell us about the squad depth now? So them are the questions I'm going to throw at you guys. So
That's the best squad we've ever had, man.
Love it. Love it. What's your thoughts there on what I've just said there? And like I say, you guys come in once win finishes, because I've looked at the time. We've got to crack on.
Yeah. The as regards Bruno, we still haven't won with him out of the team.
No.
And that suits admirably your surviving, not thriving. So, we're putting in a performance. We've got the draw, but we're still missing that spark, to really get we're going up top. We got the goals primarily because of the press, as opposed to, lovely build-up or whatever. We did have a few lovely build-up moves that didn't result in goals. I mean, I thought when Gordon came on, he was outstanding. The runs he was going on, some of the stuff he was doing, I thought it was just, that was, if Willock was back to his best, that was Gordon absolutely back to his best. And again, completely robbed of a penalty. That like I say, that you could talk all night about the refereeing decisions. They were just ludicrous. The Alanga one, the Burn one. How Burn gets a foul against him for getting kicked.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But with regard to the Bruno bit, thriving, not surviving, sums it up admirably, I think.
Cool. Christina, I'm gonna say names because you two are arguing constantly about who's going next. Christina.
I was going to jump in there anyway. I was feeling a bit confident. I the way that I'm looking at it, because I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but by the end of that game, I can't be the only one who felt a little bit disappointed that we hadn't won that game. I think we really, and bear in mind that was against the European champions and a team that played some of the best football we've seen in a live setting, like all year. I think for me, if you look at it like what you were saying about without Bruno, Bruno's a mercurial talent at this club. That's the first time I've ever pronounced that word correctly. Mercurial talent.
I'm glad you said that.
Absolute fantastic. He's the absolute heartbeat of the team at times. But for me, the way that the midfield played yesterday, and I'll include Willock in this, even though he was more out to the left, I think it's really given me confidence in the squad depth. Like a lot of this season, people have been talking about not having rotation, and you know, if you bring out Joe Linton, or if you bring out Tonali, or if you bring in Bruno, who do you do to replace him? But I think like last night really showed to me that we do have a team that we can now rotate, and I think it did take some of these players. Like Willock hasn't looked as good as that for a long time. Ramsey took a little bit of time to settle in, and I think last night shown that okay, now when we do rotate, there's no need for us to feel downhearted about like a player as big as Bruno being missing. I mean, I saw the comments when the team was announced. Everybody was like, "Oh, we've just thrown the towel in here. We're not really going for it." And the way the team played, I mean, honestly, I quite genuinely by the end of the game, because when we brought Flash and the Green Hour on, Barnes and Anthony, I genuinely, my first thought was, oh, this is it, PSG's for it. Then they're not going to have an answer. And to be fair, I was very close to not being wrong. Gordon ran them ragged, and that came from the fact that our midfield for that whole game, I mean, as well as the defence, but the midfield absolutely handled that without the need of Bruno, without Joe Linton, who again would have probably been first choice had he been available. So I'm really excited for what we've got in regards to squad depth now.
Excellent. Yeah, Bulky?
Well, I can't help this one. Does being very close to not being wrong mean you're all wrong? But anyway,
No, never wrong.
With that, I'll play devil's advocate a little bit here, and I know for a fact the stats don't back us up whatsoever. But with Bruno not being there, does it make we play? Because if Bruno's there, he's our sort of focal point. We'll go through him with most passes. With Bruno not being there, does it free up the other players to be able to play their game? So the likes of Gordon, did it free him up a little bit? Does it free, well, not Wilson because he was not Willock because he was playing his position, but does it free Ramsey up a little bit? Does it give Tonali a little bit more sort of leeway as well? So I mean, that's the only thing I would say. Bruno's a great player. Don't get it wrong. Now I would put him in the team every time. But when you look at it, does it free other players up if he's not playing because he's not the focal point for everything to go through?
I think that's a super valid point. I mean, that Gary made earlier as well. That when Bruno isn't there, demanding the ball, which gives an easy option to everybody else, they then decide, right, I'm actually gonna try and do something. Which, if Bruno is there, are they reticent to try that because they think if I don't get away with it, Bruno's going to be thinking, why the hell didn't he just give it to me? And that sort of mindset could definitely come into it, I think. And the same goes for Tonali, by the way, because Tonali's always demanding the ball. And as we know with him, it doesn't often go forward. Will retain the ball, but not necessarily going in the right direction. Phil 2792 is in the essay, and Ramsey's ability to take the ball under pressure and turn his man was very impressive. Willock did the same. We have to look at who we're up against. PSG have 5 of the best players in the world.
They do. You want to do this one from Wazza before we go any further?
Oh, sorry, I haven't got that yet. There we go. Bruno makes us predictable. It's quite right. Sell him. Not a chance.
Definitely not.
Not a chance.
Get off the Guinness, Wazza, man.
Indeed.
To quote Win, you're out your head, man.
You're in, man. I mean, for me, I think there was a little bit of, again, listening to the pundits afterwards. I'd got like you guys after the game doing the post match analysis and the phone in, some interesting comments, and I was listening to some of the pundits on TNT et al. Just to try and get some depth into what they were saying. And the one thing they criticise PSG for is sometimes you lose that little bit of continuity with the constant rotation that they're able to do. And because they're out of some competitions now in Ligue 1, it allows them to go a little bit further with some of the players. So I suppose what Newcastle did is expose some of that PSG's mental fragility. And we said, what PSG don't like is the press. They don't like people, being at them. You could see them yesterday when they've got time on the ball. They're very, very well. But I actually believe, there was a good side in front of us, but I never felt as though we were going to give them, an edge or gift wrap a chance at goal. And like I say, what they did,
Well,
they
not
did
after
well.
the first 20 minutes, anyway.
No, exactly. And like I say, you've also got to ask, in them first 20 minutes, obviously they lost one of their big players, which is Kvaratskhelia. If he stays fit, does it change the game? It's okay. Thank you very much. So there's lots of question marks, isn't there? And that is the thing for me. I mean, the one thing I must say, like I said, I want to go back to Eddie Howe, because it's like evolution or necessity at times. For once, Eddie Howe has genuinely rotated, and it worked. We worked against Spurs, and everybody said, we have got this squad in depth, and we've dabbled with bit part situations that hasn't worked. And I think that's always thrown a little bit of scrutiny towards Eddie. It's always thrown a question mark to the depth of the squad and how good they actually are. But is this the most pragmatic we've seen Eddie Howe in Europe?
I think it's the most pragmatic we've seen Eddie Howe anyway.
To me, it was just a carbon copy of Arsenal last season.
Yeah. I was going to say that.
Really a carbon copy in regards to, the way we played was different. But in regards to this, if he keeps going like this, that's great. The only thing I would revert back to is, though, don't get too high for the highs and don't get too low for the lows. Going back to the dark side a little bit. Remember Aston Villa at the weekend? So we'll all jump on the bandwagon saying it was one great performance. Firstly, we still didn't win away from home, and secondly, it's not. It's a one. It's so far we know we're good in cups, but we've got to recreate this in the league as well.
Yeah, but this is the thing, though. Is it? I keep saying to me, it feels like we're leaving stuff in the locker. And I've asked the question many a time, and it's the same thing. Was this controlled conservatism or a lack of ambition regarding the Premier League? Because, it's going to be very difficult to maintain this type of play across all four competitions. Something has to give, if you like. It looks like they've just gone 2 up against Aston Villa, from where I've just heard in my other ear, which is around here somewhere. So it's a case for me. It's a case of, if Eddie Howe is looking at all cup competitions this season, does going further down the Premier League affect where we be or what fans think of us? Because, we've all harped on about fans have greater expectations these days because now we're working alongside the elite. I don't class us as elite, but we're working alongside the elite teams now. And on our day, we're matching them. And, you've just made a point there, Balky, that we didn't win. But if you listen to a lot of the Paris Saint-Germain fans after the game, that felt like a loss for them. So that's got to be a win for us.
I think
I think that shows you the difference between the two teams, doesn't it?
Well, I think
they go up against Newcastle United. They expect to win. You look at the predictions and everything like that. we went up against them, and very few people predicted that we're going to go over there and win. So it's one of those ones that, as I say, just don't get too high when we have a good game, and don't get too low when we don't have a good game. But
Just
yesterday was great, but you've got to remember that first half, they were on a different planet to us.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that.
Could it be, perhaps, for you, Bogey, that Eddie might have learned something in terms of being able to trust the squad, where he's been extremely reticent to do so far? Might this be the turning point where he said, well, maybe I can rotate a bit more?
Well, because I know he's been watching the channel and listening to us to give himself some advice. So maybe that's exactly what he's thinking.
Yeah, it might be. It might be.
Just to put the Europe to bed, because we've got to get on to Liverpool.
Liverpool, yeah, that's next.
But a couple of things. Steve has put in the chat, win £410 to Baku from Gatwick. Well, a quick, that's for Karabakh. A quick plug here for Toon Travel, Keith Barrett's Toon Travel, who's been running away charter flights for Toon fans for years and years and years and years and years. I remember going to Barcelona with him and Bilbao with him and Marseille with him. And he will be running a flight to whoever it is we're playing, be it Monaco or Karabakh. He will be putting at least one plane on. If you want to register your interest, go to info@toontravel.co.uk or look them up on Facebook, Toon Travel, Keith Barrett. That's who I'll be going with if I can get a ticket.
Exactly.
And on that subject as well, of course, the fact that we've got 5 of the English clubs in the top 8, ourselves just outside it, augurs brilliantly for our coefficient, meaning that it's almost guaranteed already now that we will get a 5th place in the Champions League.
I think it is, isn't it? As we're on 100%, or
is that not something that's worth mentioning about the just before we move on in regards to how we were saying about Newcastle are playing more in the cup? Is it not worth pointing out that like all of the English teams have qualified, like most of them except us, top 8 in the Champions League? But teams like Spursy, I mean, where are they in the Premier League at the moment? Like 15th. So does it not actually show? Maybe it's not a case of we try harder in the cup competitions. Maybe it's just the Premier League is a really, really tough league.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, that's what Anthony Gordon was saying in his interview, isn't it? He mentioned the fact that you've got more space, more time, because teams in the Champions League, because it's virtually, you've got to come out to get results. You only got 8 games to get those results to get you through into the playoffs, if not the top 8. So they're virtually they're all doable type of thing. So it does allow him to go, and get that space behind. Where in the Premier League, because everybody virtually knows everybody off cuff now, it's very rare you've got open football in the Premier League. It's getting very hard to get big scores these days.
Exactly.
Because everybody literally plays deep against better sides, and like I said, you've got to create your own thing.
Better sides, man. I would go as far as to say you could probably shove. I'm going to go stupid. You could shove 14 Premier League sides in that Champions League, and playing non-Premier League sides, every one of them would qualify. Every one of them.
Oh, yeah, well, like I say, it would be an interesting one. Let's go from the love of France, I suppose, down the M57. So where you lose your heart in France you'd lose the air out your tyres if you park in the wrong place at Anfield. This is the side that I think, because they've got lots of defensive injuries. So I have thrown my hat in the ring, and I've thrown Zoboslai at right back. Endo coming back into the side at right centre back with Van Dijk and Kirkez, Becker in goal, obviously. The Gravenberch and McAllister, Salah, Wirtz and Gakpo, and Ekatiko up top. It was an interesting interview with Ekatiko. I don't know whether you guys have seen it, when he was asked about was he close coming to Newcastle, to which he said, I had the option, and I chose where I wanted to be, and that's the club I'm playing for now. So, like I said, the option was there; it was on the table, but obviously he felt as though going to Liverpool, he was going to get a bit more silverware, put it that way.
The wages might have something to do with that as well, Gary.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I don't think I agree and I disagree, because I think at the end of the day, for your first season, apart from winning silverware with your bonuses and stuff like that, I think Newcastle could have potentially matched where he was going to be. I don't think we could have matched the silverware. That was the problem. But unfortunately, hasn't quite worked out for Liverpool as they hoped this season. And they're on a little bit of a decline. When you think they've only won 1 in 6, I mean, they've drawn a lot of games, but they've only won 1 in 6. So, like I say, it's not as if it's all plain sailing for them.
Well,
So,
I've got some really quirky facts if you want to know that. Liverpool are winless in their last 5 Premier League games, last having a longer run in a single season in 2002-03, when they went 11 under Gerard Houllier. Liverpool could fail to win each of their opening 6 league fixtures in a calendar year for the first time since 1954.
Oh no,
Wow.
what a pity. Never mind.
Yeah, but you see, I tend to believe these long standing stats. What that says to me is they ain't going to beat that record, so we could be in for a 1,000.
Woz is
Nah,
asking a
bring them on.
question. So let's because Woz is a very good supporter of the channel. So let's give Woz a shout here. You can have 3 pool players. Who would you have and why? Right then. Well, for me, I know you don't like it, but I would probably go with Zoboslai, because he's such a talent and a versatile player. I'd certainly have Ekatike, because he's the type of player that I think would gracefully fit into Newcastle, and I suppose because we are having such a mare in our current form, I'd probably go with Salah down the right hand side, because at the minute we've got nothing that matches it.
I'll have Salah, and Salah, please.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I would probably go on the diagonal to a degree. I would go down the right hand side, because, like I say, Zoboslai for me can play anywhere across the park. He's virtually he's our Miley, if you like, for them. Salah's great down that right hand side. You get your goals, and Ekatike up front, because we've got nothing like him. What do you guys think?
Salah for me.
You can't just pick the same. That's not picking 3 players unless you start playing it, like spelling his name differently each time.
Well, I would definitely have Ekatike in our current predicament.
Oh, well, and Tike, Salah, and Becker for me, maybe, is the keeper. The keeper.
No, I think
Well,
that's
a good show, but he's getting a bit long in the tooth, though.
Yeah,
I think if I was picking a third, it would probably be Zoboslai. Then again, when you think Zoboslai, we went for Ekatike, we went for.
Yeah,
should we get on to the team? Otherwise, we're going to run out of time.
Well, we've got 10 minutes to pick your 10 players. I would imagine Pope is going to be in goal against Liverpool. Do you go with what you saw at PSG at Anfield, or do you guys pick something totally different?
I think I might put Trips back.
I was going to say Trips on the right for me.
So you're going to go with Trips on the right?
Yeah.
You've got to play your 2 out of 3 centre halves. Who plays?
I will play the 3 again.
I would play the 3 again as well.
Same.
So all 3. Oh, wow. Interesting. So we're going with virtually the same formation then. And Louis Saul on the left-hand side?
Yeah.
Okie doke.
So
And
we're looking
big,
for Dan Burn there. There he goes.
there he goes.
He's
Big
from
Dan.
Blythe, you know.
Oh,
I
I
was
didn't realise.
literally just about to say I carry some life.
I didn't realise that. Midfielders then, because Bruno could be back. You got Miley, and you've got obviously Tonali. Who do you go with? Do you go with a 5-3, 5-2? Which way do you go?
This is going to be
It gets
all
difficult.
labelled agenda. But no, I think let's try resting Tonali.
Oh, Chris is going to kick off when he comes on now.
And the reason I'm saying it is for Bruno will be back. If Bruno is fit, he will be back. That's for sure. And Tonali was there yesterday, but wasn't in the position he was in, demanding the ball. If Tonali's there, he will be getting the ball. Bruno will be getting the ball. And let's keep either Ramsey for me, preferably. Keep Ramsey in, and let's have Miley on the bench. Not because you had a bad game or anything. Just let's see if this giving responsibility to the squad players can actually work.
I would personally go with Elanga on the right, Bruno and Tonali in the middle, and Gordon on the left.
So you want Elanga out there,
Tonali and Bruno in the middle. Bruno and
Tonali
Tonali in
and
the
Bruno.
middle.
Yeah.
If Bruno's not fit, then Miley, obviously. And then Gordon on the left.
So you're going to go 5-4-1.
5-4-1. Because that gives you
who's your one?
Me one would be Wissa. Voldemort the other night was
he was
a non-entity, so
Wissa.
Yeah, but he was isolated as well.
He was isolated, but he's been isolated all season.
I would play Walter Mata against Liverpool.
Only reason I'll play Wissa is simply down to the fact with this formation, he's going to be even more isolated, and he's proven all season he can't work like that. He can't. I mean, Wissa's also proven he can't either, but I think Wissa's got more of a chance of getting you a little poke in at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. Don't get me wrong, but the one thing that concerns me, Anthony Gordon. Anthony Gordon sees Liverpool his own, his growing up club he supports. He gives that Dan Burn-esque type of mentality where he's obviously going to get himself thrown around a little bit. He's going to be. I hope he's all over Zoboslai. I'll be honest with you, because the one thing these guys at the back don't like is pace. So I agree. I think we've got to start seeing Elanga. Now Ramsey or Willock in this one, says Steve, even though they had the best games. But this is what you've got to do. If you're looking at throwing players in to leave everything on the pitch, there was a lot of yardage on last night. We played 8 o'clock on Saturday night. There should be enough, if you like, to recover, but you're not going to get another best out of everybody. So somebody's going to be lagging somewhere. So fresh legs, fresh impetus. It's like Elanga started. Is it worth saying to Harvey Barnes, was that the reason Harvey Barnes was rested? Because he wants him against Liverpool. And Anthony Gordon, the same thing. I think that is where you're going to get the best out of this team, is when you give these boys a big rest in a game. And like I say, it was a big risk against PSG. But I think
Willock not worth another start though, considering how well he played.
But that's what I'm saying. I think what you've got to start saying to yourself, with the amount of games that we've got coming up, there's plenty of opportunities. That's if Willock stays. By all accounts, there's teams now. Like I said, Marseille are interested in Willock now. So it's whether they can keep him entertained. Because I think now it's up to Willock. If Willock can have that mentality when he gets the chance to play, I think you'll get a further rotation. The biggest problem with Willock is when he comes on from a substitute, you don't get that bounce like you do with Barnes. when you start Willock, he either gives you a really good performance or he's non-existent, but you don't get anything from the bench. He's not a game changer. And I think, like yesterday, his performance, he was well up for it. Now, whether that's because he's putting himself in the shop window, who knows? But I think there's an opportunity there to get somebody in. So I think tomorrow will be, Saturday, will probably be something like Harvey Barnes. I don't know who the midfield's going to be. I would imagine Bruno will come back in, and it'll be one if Tonali feels good. Again, he wasn't the one that was running box to box a lot of the time. It was Ramsey and Willock. So, for me, it's probably going to be Tonali and Bruno in the middle of the park. And again, I don't think that's a bad system if, they can get it to work. Is this the best Liverpool side that you've ever seen? I don't think it is.
Bruno McAllister. Oof.
Yeah, exactly. Argentina, Brazil.
Just on this, are people looking through it through slightly rose-tinted glasses as well in regards to Willock and Ramsey? They've had one okay game last night. You saw it, and then everybody jumps on the bandwagon of, play them. If everybody in the chat put the hand on the heart, could they say that the Ramsey and Willock are better than Tonali or Bruno? I don't think anybody could. So you can sometimes look after a game and you think you've focused on those players because they did have good games, but look at the games they've had the rest of the season as well. Take everything into account.
I'm going to throw this one back at you because I'm thinking it's more psychological than what you're looking at here. Ramsey's already said when he come into Newcastle, he realised it was going to be hard to get into this midfield, right? Willock has already dropped off the pipeline because, again, I think Newcastle, unfortunately, have probably reached his ceiling. And you're going to get games like you saw yesterday where he's going to reach the right height to be involved in the club. But that isn't continuous. And I think, I've been in a situation, and I'm sure, most of you guys on the panel, where you've worked in an area where you're never going to get a promotion because there's too many people around you that are probably just that better. So your mentality, your psychological shut-off is like, well, I'll come and do my job, but I may not perform to the best I could because there's people in front of me. So I think sometimes as a player, you automatically shut off because you're going to be on the bench week in, week out. I'll come train, I'll work me harder, but I'm just going to be back on the bench come the weekend. So I do think a lot of that is a psychological vamp.
My worry is a bit like Bogey's that we have seen Willock have really good games in the past, but they're literally one-off.
Yeah,
he has one good game and then tails off again. I think that could be brilliant that he's had that excellent game. So anybody who was even thinking about coming in for him will be saying, "Oh yeah, we need to get this kid while he's up for sale." It might even add a bit of money to his price tag. Let's not put him on Saturday and see that price tag drop again.
Yeah, well, that's the thing,
isn't it? In that team, Tina, before we go.
Sorry?
Would you have changed anything in that team?
I mean, I personally would have preferred Voldemort ahead of Wissa against Liverpool. I don't know why, just a feeling I've got. But last time I had that feeling, I said we should play 3 at the back, we should play Lang on the right, and we'll do ones each. See, I got it right this time with the European champions. So maybe that feeling is a good thing. I think Voldemort is just on the cusp of about to. I mean, you said he played dreadfully last night. There was a couple of things that I saw from that made me think, okay, he's putting himself about here. And had it not been for, I can't remember who ran in the way, but he nearly laid on a nice little assist for Elanga. And he'd held off like 3 players. And then the assist, it just kind of got caught up in the player running onto it. But I mean, fair enough, his presence in the air wasn't great. But I've started thinking, maybe Walter Morta's going to start to come good again.
Yeah, interesting. Right then, here we go. The boys, obviously the good subs are on now. It's time
the boys are back in town.
Yeah, I've got a hamstring injury. I'm on the cusp. I've got to get carded. I'm going to go. Michael, Kev, lovely to have you on this evening. Obviously, the birthday boy is out having a swell with the family. So Chris has handed the reins over to Michael. And I hope you all have a very good evening.
Okay, guys.
You're a bit low, Michael.
Oh, I've got my mic a bit close, that's why. A bit low.
A bit low. You are a bit low, buddy.
Oh, let me check the old settings.
Well, he's
Not too
doing
happy
that.
tonight, Kev, mind you, mate. I'm saying not too happy tonight.
Not too happy. Well, hey, we're flying now, aren't we?
I was going to say, I'm just going to relax in my chair and listen to Kev just, talk eloquently about
I officially
all
got
good
called
things.
a non-happy clapper after my last episode. I was sensible and passionate, I think was what I was called. So that was a very, very polite way of putting it. But no, I think, lots to talk about. But
about grinding you down, mate.
No, never. Never. Me down. My history and my background, you got to go something to grind me down. You might get there eventually, Bokey, and when you do, I'll let you know. It'll be your biggest conquering yet.
But I said it afterwards. It's always nice to have, not everybody's going to see the game the same as you. You know what I mean? And what I dislike sometimes about the chat is it can come across quite cold at times, just like texting, isn't it?
Yeah,
sometimes it does come across, regardless of what you're trying to put out there, it comes across the wrong way. So I would rather have episodes where you've got lads that want him in, lads that want him out, and discuss your points, because only then rather than shouting over each other, because then all you do is drowning each other out all the time. So it actually becomes a noise rather than a conversation.
I think that's what I loved about
the peacemaker.
That's what I loved about my last episode with Bokey and Roy. It was really it was probably one of my favourite episodes, even though I didn't go on as good. Passionate rant as what I normally do, but it was just nice to have them different conversations and almost agree to disagree, but in a nice way where we all just want what's best for Newcastle. That's the best kind of way to be as a fan base, I think.
Of course it is, absolutely. Like I said, opinions and opinions.
Note.
Are you back with us, Michael?
I hope I am.
Hey, there you go. We can hear you now.
Perfect. Looks like the input settings had mysteriously dropped off. People clearly didn't want to hear us last time out, so the laptop's done people a favour. But thanks very much.
No problem.
The time is now.
Hello. It is your late night show with me, Michael Grahamslaw, the mighty Win, Kev, and Bogey is here as well. What we're going to be talking about tonight is an article put out by Craig Hope a bit earlier. Basically asked some questions about transfer strategy, centre-back dilemmas, some targets from Serie A and potential departures. But you know all that because you've read the thumbnail and the title of the video. So we're going to get straight into it. I want to start off. I think the scenario probably to start with, because there is maybe the least to talk about, is Newcastle's transfer window so far, because we've done nothing. Or nothing as note, as Craig Hope said, because we'd asked Borough if Wood could have Target back, and Target just went no. But obviously I mentioned there, got the lovely panel on today. What do you think? I'm going to come to you, Win, first. What do you think about Newcastle's lack of transfer planning for this particular window? Is it something where it's our long-term plan to focus on the summer, and the higher-ups clearly believe that Howe can work with what he's got and get us through to the summer? Or do you think it's just because, as Eddie Howe has alluded to in press conferences, the winter market is pretty terrible at the minute. What do you think? Yep.
Wayne, we can't hear you.
I can.
I can't. I'm a bogey. I'm like, I can't hear.
Oh. That's meant I can hear, but...
Oh, what's going on here? I can hear Michael. I can hear Bogey, but I can't hear Win. And War Captain Bruno can't either.
You can't hear him on YouTube either.
Okay, well, Win, I'm not sure what's happened there, but I'll ask you the question instead, Kev. Can you remember what it was, or shall I ask it again?
Go again, because I've had Becca say hi, and I've had Irish Toon Assessment say there was a fluffy toy moon in them, so I was distracted. Sorry.
All right, fair enough. Win, do you want to try again quickly?
Can you hear me now?
Hey, some technological issues here at the start, but just some teething, that's all. We'll go back to...
There's two schools of thought. One is that, you go along with what's been said, bad time to be buying, and of course the other school of thought is that PIF are having second thoughts about Eddie.
Yeah.
And thinking, are we going to let him have the final say? As Ross Wilson has told us, he has, with regard to transfers.
Yeah,
absolutely. I personally think PIF have got every faith in Eddie Howe, so I don't believe that is the case, but I could be totally wrong.
Yeah, it's one of those we'll never really know, but given the fact that there's been plenty of transfer windows in the past where we've looked at it and gone, we really should have done something, but we're hamstrung by PESR. It's been a bit of a topic in this window as well, but you've got outside sources saying that PSR can't be an issue for Newcastle. Kev, do you think the lack of action in the window so far is long-term planning and a focus on the summer, or, as I say, what Eddie Howe said, because the winter market is pretty terrible? I mean, just look at Strand Larsen and Mateta's rumoured moves over the next couple of days. Ridiculous.
Probably both a little bit true. I think the winter market's tough anyway, isn't it? I mean, Christ, who's going to sell one of the star players in January? And then we already have Newcastle tax as it is. Even though we're not actually the richest club in the world, we have the richest owners in the world. We're not the richest club, thanks to PSR or whatever it's going to be called next season. So we're not actually the richest club in the world, but we still get Newcastle tax. So I think Newcastle tax on top of a mid-season tax as well, we would just be overpaying for almost anybody. I think we might have been close early on in the window with injuries, but looking at Byrne coming back, Shaw not being out until the end of the season, Tino coming back hopefully relatively soon. They've probably thought it's long-term planning. Let's go in the summer. I think in terms of the rumours of them not having faith in Eddie Howe is not true. I think he would be gone if they didn't have faith in him. So he's still there. He'll still be the man for now. Yeah, I think it's just January stuff. And look, the previous 3 windows before the summer, we didn't spend anything really anyway. So it's not unusual for Newcastle. With Tom Jones.
Song there somewhere.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not unusual. I said it. I thought I'm going to break into song here. But no, it's not out of the normal for Newcastle. That's not a song. Other than the summer where we spent, this is pretty much like every window, or the 3 windows before that. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And just before I get to Bogey, Irish Toon Assassins put a question in there as well. What happens to Eddie if Newcastle don't win a cup or qualify for Europe with PIF? Do you think they'll look at a change? Bogey, I'll start with you.
With that
I think I know your answer.
I think everybody would be asking for a change if that was the case. I mean, Eddie, for me, you've got to progress season on season. The cups are a different thing, because a cup competition's obviously a one-off game, but in the league you should be progressing. I understand that obviously the other teams have got more money and can spend more than us, but if we don't qualify for any type of Europe, then that's a massive regression, going backwards, a step forward. So for me, then serious questions have to be asked about them if we don't qualify for Europe. If serious questions aren't being asked now, And just quickly on the transfer thing, the only thing I would say on that is I don't understand. We know for a fact we're going to have to buy. I've said this before. We're going to have to buy defenders in the summer transfer anyway. Whoever's manager, we're going to need, well, probably 3-4 new defenders. Why haven't they just bit the bullet in this window and bought one, just to give them that little bit of extra cover till the end of the season? You know, I'm not saying go out and spend 60, 70, 80 million on a defender, but a 30 or 40 million pound defender, it's not going to break the bank for with
But hang on though, Boogie, do you
pay.
want a 30 or 40 million pound defender in the summer? Should the model not be, which I agree with, buy players who are first team ready, who push the current first teamers onto the bench and improve your squad?
How much do we pay for Cherwin?
35, wasn't it?
So that's the mid range of what I'm saying. He's got straight in the team. If you look at it, this is the problem. Yes, you can go out and look for players that are going to come straight into the team, but you don't have to do that. That the Premier League proven players. You just have to look for good players in other leagues.
Nobody's saying Premier League. I mean, Eddie was looking at Joe, 18 months ago.
But that's exactly it. So go out and get a player like Joe.
We couldn't afford it. We didn't have any money. We had to sell.
But we've got money now. So I'm saying just go out and buy the defender that we know we're going to need in the summer anyway. Go out and buy one of them now.
I agree. Buy them now if it's fair, definitely. But I don't know. I think January, if he's a £35 million defender, you're probably paying 45 million. And I'm probably with Borky on this in terms of I'd rather just pay the 45 million and overpay by 10 million. But again, if you're pinching and trying to stay in the rules and all that rubbish, which does our heads in as Newcastle fans, then I can understand why they might wait. But I'm probably with Borky actually. If I had any sort of say, I'd be like, just overpay the 10 million, pay the Newcastle tax now, because originally when PSR first came in, I was a little bit like, no, don't get ripped off, stand your ground. And now I'm just like, God, just get him in. Just get him in, give him 6 months to settle. Because that's the other thing we've seen, which would make me agree with Borky on that, is a lot of our players, when we come in, do take a while to settle. I don't know if it's kind of a fitness levels at Newcastle or the way we play in terms of when we play once a week, it is press and intensity. So I don't know if that's kind of why, again, Alanga and Ramsey have took a while to hit the ground running. Wissa obviously was injury. Voltemada started actually like a house on fire, but then almost Wissa coming back has derailed him because he doesn't know if he's genuinely starting all the time. So yeah, I agree with that in terms of Borky. I would rather overpay now and have somebody in ready, hit the ground running from the start of the season rather than gamble and hope they hit the ground running.
Yeah, I think...
And just with regard to Irish's question, I cannot be a hypocrite. So what I would say is, even if we do have an exceptional cup run, might even get to the final or the semi-final, that in itself should not be a reason to keep the manager, because that's exactly what we did with Kenny Dalglish and with Ruud Gullit, because they were proven in the league that they were absolute doglish, but because we were progressing in the FA Cup, they kept that player, they kept the position.
Kind of compared Dalglish and Gullit to Howe, man. Dalglish and Gullit had like absolute ballers. Howe still got half a relegation team.
I was wondering why you look like you've seen a ghost.
And unlimited budgets they had, by the way.
Wait, just quickly on that point, with that, if I think you're right in a way, but if we somehow get to an FA Cup or a Champions League final, and the run up to
Champions
the
League,
final, no, but I'm saying
straight away that means you're qualified for next season anyway.
The run up to that final, he starts resting players and getting ready for that game. Then and then we'll lose the final. I think you've got to give him a little bit of leeway in that situation.
Absolutely.
But anything else, they know he's got to get champion. He's got to get European footballers at least this season.
I agree. Yeah. At least European football. I think if you're out of Europe completely, then nowhere near in the cups. I don't even think then it would be an easy decision because of obviously we're kind of.
Money in the bank.
Connection we've got, and obviously, I think Howe would probably take no compensation. He seems that much of a nice guy, and he's genuinely like fell in love with Newcastle, hasn't he? But even then, it would be a difficult conversation. But then, the question is probably, in my opinion, more fairly asked if that happens with no European football, no real cup run. Then I think it would be fair to ask the question. Whereas previously, I've been a bit like, Howe, let's kind of calm down a little bit here. It hurts when we lose, but stay sensible. But yeah, no European football would be a disaster.
Even though we have had already, remember, a fantastic cup run.
We have.
It's no disgrace to get knocked out in the semi-final stage by Man City.
With their centre-backs, I kind of did want a little bit more, but we've still got the second leg to go through in this. To be fair, at the start of the season, we've done pretty much what I asked for. I wanted to get out the league phase of the Champions League. I wanted to be fighting for Europe again. I didn't think we'd get Champions League, and I wanted a long cut run to the semi-finals or beyond. It's kind of already been done.
Expectations met for Michael.
Yep.
Yeah, well, Kev, I remember we were talking start of the season and we were saying like they weren't too far off that, to be honest. I mean, don't be wrong, end game Champions Leagues, quarterfinals, that sort of stage, it's where you want to be. And obviously, still a lot of work to do in the league. But I just wanted to sort of move into, obviously, we were talking about the winter market there, and I just wanted to look at something quickly. The players that have actually been brought in from teams in the Premier League, I'm not sure I look at maybe more than one or two of them and go, I would want them at Newcastle United. So I just wanted to quickly go through. I can go through them and then you can just stop us when you get to one that maybe you will want to be at Newcastle, and you can give us the reason why. Obviously, Ethan Nwaneri is the one I've started on because great talent, but let's be honest, Arsenal aren't going to loan one of the top young talents to Newcastle in the league. I know we're nowhere near them, but it's just that kind of thing for me. I think they're always going to loan elsewhere.
Definitely not with somebody, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
So
Baracus, yeah, go on.
BJ Baracus, windmate, baldness is now officially recognised as a disability. So get your blue badge registration done.
Well, in that case, I'm getting my shaver out, jeez.
Yes, BJ Baracus.
Yeah, free partner.
I haven't seen you before, but thank you very much.
Lovely stuff, mate. I think he's just changed his name in the chat, to be fair. I saw him saying he was stuck with that name for 14 days. Yeah, just to sort of go into, I mean, Tammy Abraham just signed by Aston Villa, 20-odd million, and a player going the other way. I don't know the other two behind him. Douglas Luiz looks like a decent loan sign.
I'd take Douglas Luiz mainly just for his partner, if they're still together.
Oh, and look at this,
They're
man.
not, unfortunately.
Oh, we're not? Oh, well, yeah,
I'm
only interested in
massive
getting hurt in Newcastle,
supporters.
but no.
18 months of membership.
Wow.
Well done,
Absolutely
was it?
fantastic,
Cheers,
was
Tiff
it?
had a 5-year plan. I guess Howe was part of that, so I think a change is nigh. Freshen things up, keep us moving. Hopefully get a 4-prong manager.
Oh, interesting.
4-prong manager.
Yeah, I do agree with Douglas Luiz. He is a bit of a tidy puller, should we say, of partners.
It was only because I wanted Alicia Lehman on Tyneside, so if they're not together anymore, then I've got no interest in Douglas Luiz coming to the Toon.
And if my wife or my me mother is watching this, I do apologise.
You didn't say that.
No, but I agree. But Douglas Luiz, obviously he's been to Nottingham Forest. Didn't really do all too well there. Doesn't look like the player he did when he left for 60-odd million. Daniel Marlin's gone off to Roma. Ryan is the one that everyone wanted. Has done well in the Brazilian league. I'll be honest, you could probably count on one hand the number of people who've said they want him and have actually watched him play. Alex Toff, Christoph Banderas, players that people have probably seen, but not too many. Obviously, Semenyo's in there, but is he realistically going to end up at Newcastle? Divina, who that is.
He's going to end up being a baller in about 5 years, and that's going to get replayed so many times.
Yeah, Kei Furo, I'm watching out for you now. Right. Pascal Gross going back to Brighton. Now, there's not really many, if any, names here. James Ward-Prowse, maybe if you're sitting there and going, we'll want someone who can score a direct free kick, but the rest of his game's terrible.
There is your definition of a journeyman.
Yeah. He'll be at another 7 Premier League clubs before the end of his career. Got another super chat in there now as well.
From Corey. Corey, where you hiding, man? Got to give us a cover of Purple Rain and that, so. Thank you for your $2.99 Australian dollars.
Yeah, absolutely. Chelsea in there, haven't brought anyone in. Palace, let's be honest, probably the worst of the lot by the end of the transfer window. Strand Larson going to be there for 50 million. Brennan Johnson there, 35 million. It's 40 in euros. And then they're looking at Gesand from Aston Villa, who's not done anything. So for me, pretty terrible. Obviously, Mark Gay off the City. You would want him, but he wouldn't come. Fulham, nobody. Leeds, pretty much nobody. Liverpool, nobody.
I don't know if that's a loan, but Buonanotte is a great player.
It is a loan.
That's only a loan.
I'm not sure how he's been doing, to be honest. I know he went to Chelsea.
He was kind of hit and miss for a little bit at Chelsea.
I don't know.
On himself off the team. I'd love him under Howe. Somebody that exciting who can unlock a defence. Good dribbler, good bit of vision. Be interesting to see if he would develop under Howe. But other than Buonanotte, so far was only him I would have liked to have seen at Newcastle.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would like to have tested the water with Mateta, to be honest.
Really? See, I've seen so many Palace fans saying now he's like a really terrible striker. He misses like 4 or 5 chances. Every time I see him play, he either doesn't look like he's there at all or really dangerous. So I
don't mind a striker who misses 4 or 5 chances as long as they score 2 or 3 in the same game.
It's a fair point.
And he does that. You know, Andy Cole used to miss probably as many chances as he put away.
Yeah. A bit before my
era. The point is,
like,
getting into those positions, it's a bit like Harvey Barnes yesterday. You know, He was there. He missed it, fair enough. But at least he was there to miss it.
True. I see why Irish Two Assassin saying that he's on the same lines as you. It means he gets 4 or 5 chances. I'd say that's more about maybe him off the ball it's definitely included in that. Says a lot about Palace's creative talents in there as well, though. Let's be honest. If we don't create anything for Nick Voltemada, are we blaming Voltemada's movement or are we blaming the players getting the ball to him? I've seen a lot of the people blaming the players getting the ball to him. Obviously, it is a bit of both. Man United, nobody in. Newcastle, nobody in, obviously. Lorenzo Luca is gone to Forest on loan. Obviously, they're going to make the sign of Mateta, which will be a pretty decent one for them, probably. No one cares about them. Conor Gallagher is maybe the one that I think people might have gone for, but I would say no.
I agree with you, Michael.
I think it's...
I would have certainly had Conor Gallagher.
Really? What do you see in him?
Yeah. I just think he's a proper player. He's my sort of player.
You need creativity, don't you?
Puts it in for the team. And on his day, he's superb.
He's Wins type of player, knackered, no chance.
I think for me, the reason
I'm really interested to see how he does at Tottenham.
The reason I was excited about
Thomas Frank.
The reason I was excited about Buonanotte is because he's creative. I just think Gallagher, like we have Tonali and Joe Linton, who you could argue are as good or better or not as good, doesn't really matter, but we do a similar job and a similar role in that team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Creativity, and that's why, for me, Gallagher would be a no, but Buonanotte would be an interesting...
I just think for our pressing game and our energy work rate, that's what he fits. Our profile, if you like. Not the Jeff O ball player that he wants. I'm quite happy. As long as we play the press, those are the sort of players we should be getting. Instead of go tick-a-taka.
And was there in there with another super chat? Oh, well, Wayne's gone for it with the
I had 20 chances last night, but never there. Well, I don't know if he had 20, but...
I think he had 20 years.
No, I think what he means is that he could have had 20 chances, but was never in the position where he was going to actually get the chance.
Yeah.
Which is also a fair point.
You've got to be in it to win it.
I wish Ramsey scored it. Christ.
Yeah, it would have been a decent one. But again, looking at it, obviously there's not much left. West Ham have done a bit. I mean, Tati looks absolute Tati, to be honest. Got 1 goal in, 15, 16 for Lazio. Got a few for West Ham. Doesn't look any better than Callum Wilson. Adama Traore, right wing. I mean, 2 million, it looks all right. But if we wanted players with end product, we would have bought Alanga.
But 30 mil, you know. 30 years old, sorry.
Lucas Paqueta, to be fair, wanted a trip back to Brazil, so it wasn't going to happen, but brilliant player. And then Wolves also brought in.
Do you not think if we wanted Paqueta, do you not think we could have got him? I think we could.
I think we're probably one of the only clubs in the world that maybe could have, because we've got that strong partnership between him and Bruno. But if he wanted to return home, get away from, let's be honest, he's been harassed horrifically by the media here in the UK. The whole betting scandal. Yeah, could be that as well.
Howe's obviously big on personality. I think Howe turned down Todibo, who went to West Ham through apparently, again, it's all, we don't know how true it is, but in terms of not having the right personality, I don't think Paqueta would fit the Howe personality of fight, and he's probably got a bit of fight in him, but in the wrong way. And then in terms of hard work, he hasn't really got that natural hard work, but he is creative, I guess, but too much of a gamble, I think, in terms of even if Newcastle wanted him.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Corey Down and us are saying, too bloody hot, mate. Might have to move to the town.
Yeah, you got any worry of heat here, I'll tell you.
It's freezing.
But just to move on from those, because let's be honest, we went through those and there was pretty much no one that looked like it would be a good signing for the Toon. Obviously, there are players out there, but maybe they're just not moving right now. Gary showed earlier money from the league stages of the Champions League. That was just from the games in the league stages and the finish. When you combine it with TV rights, etc., it's rumoured that Newcastle United have already won 47 million in total from the Champions League, which is still 20 million less than Spurs. That's due to coefficients, not finishing the top 8, yada, yada, yada. But when you look at where we're going to finish this season, 47 million is already more than what Spurs got last season for winning the Europa League, which was like 40 odd million. I think it was just under 40 actually. Chelsea only got 22 for winning the Conference League. For yous, does this just cement that we need to push for 5th this season and get Champions League again just because of the financial side of it? Or do you think the club could get by with Europa League football as long as we did well? I'll start with you, Bogey. I'll go the other way around.
In regards to that, I think, of course the club should push for 5th place no matter what. But, it depends where we are at the end of this month, at the end of February. If we've somehow managed to stay in 2 or 3 of the cup competitions, then you start to think to yourself, is it our season in a cup again? It's a really hard one to answer, because you never want to say we shouldn't really push in the league, because we should. But if we go through this month, it's a really tough month Premier League game-wise. If we go through this month and there's no chance of being in the Champions League, then do we start to concentrate? And we're, as I say, still in the cups, do we start to concentrate on it? If we're not in the cups, then of course he has to do that, doesn't he? He has to go for it in the league.
Yeah, I guess I should have worded it a bit better, to be honest. I guess more, is it a necessity that Newcastle finish in the Champions League places, or would we be okay with that Europa League spot? Kev, what do you think?
Financially, obviously better to be in the Champions League, but I think we'd be okay without it. I know everyone's asking where the Isaac money is and stuff, but none of us really understand it, so we probably shouldn't ask questions which we can't even be bothered to work out ourselves. I trust the club to spend what's fair. I trust them not to break rules, even though I think at times, as a Newcastle fan, I'd love to see them just break every rule and say, well, what are you going to do to us? We'll just lawyer up and take 4 years, and by then we've won 3 trophies. But I think it'll be okay without the Champions League. I think we'll get by. And I think, actually, I said this on a previous episode, be more of a natural kind of fit to where we maybe should be right now, in terms of Europa League campaign would allow the fringe players to play more. Although he actually played some of the fringe players against PSG away and we turned up, so yeah.
No, I think you're absolutely right. We've spent quite a lot of money on those sort of fringe players, and it does, you've mentioned before, it does seem to take about 6 minutes, 6 minutes, 6 months before we do start to see anything from those kind of players. So Yeah, it could just be one of those. The squad depth is going to get a little bit better before the end of the season. So with that Europa League money that would come in instead, maybe it would be enough. Maybe it'd be okay. Win, what do you think? Do you think financially we need that Champions League cash next season, or could we do with a little bit less?
I think it's lovely to think, yeah, we need fifth place. You know, we need fifth place at least. There's another 7 clubs thinking exactly the same thing, and 5 into 8 doesn't go. And when you look at the finances, they've got them to look after as well. So just to just say, you know, we should be getting fifth place. It's not as easy as that. And again, the conversation we were having earlier on, 5 English teams in the top 8 in the Champions League.
Yeah.
That's how hard the Premier League is. Because these teams are hard and playing every week against good teams. It's just, it's not a gimme that everybody, a lot of people seem to think it is.
Yeah, to be fair, I do agree. It's one of those.
And maybe a Europa Cup would be nice. Who knows?
Yeah, let's be honest, those looking forward to a potential trip to Azerbaijan, you should see the teams we could face in the Europa League, because that'd be.
That's why I would love it.
Depends on where you'd rather be, isn't it? Like where we are now, kind of inconsistent in the league, but in the Champions League, or where Villa are, in terms of, I don't think we're serious title challengers, but we're obviously kind of getting talked about of being up there, and rightly so, but we're in the Europa League, so we had that experience last year in the Champions League where they were a little bit like us, hit and miss in the league, but in the Champions League, I think we got the quarterfinals, Villa.
Yeah.
And did pretty well, had a nice campaign. So I guess it's hard, isn't it? Would I rather have what we're doing now in the money, or have kind of where Villa are now, not having to compete on the highest level of European football, and probably not having the money, but in the league, they can obviously perform a lot better due to being in the Europa League. So I think I guess the question for me would be, would you rather be Villa this season or us this season? And I think that's a tough question to answer because it depends what you value.
It's not tough for me.
Who would you rather be, Villa?
Villa all day long.
So Europa League and Villa kind of pushing up. I don't know, I think just the money Michael mentioned in terms of Champions League, like it's massive, isn't it, in terms of like, what was that, 40-odd million more than winning the Europa League just by getting to a playoff.
There's Wazza back in again saying, to be honest, he's through a how fannying about. We've lost too many points.
You always lose points in the league, I think.
Yeah. Well, we've lost points in the...
We have lost too many, but I just think it's an inconsistent league. It's a good point, but it's a tough league.
Well, I think again, this is an interesting conversation. You're saying an inconsistent league. I think it's a consistent league.
Consistently inconsistent.
It's consistently difficult.
Yeah.
The number of fixtures you see week on week on week, where there's the bookies must be having a field day this.
Anybody
because
can be
the number of nailed on results that have been overturned. And it just keeps happening. Hopefully it'll happen this weekend.
You know what I think? In the past, going out the Champions League has been a massive issue for clubs. So when there was, especially when it was the Big Four originally, if somebody else got in against them, it did really, really affect them. But now it's such a different sort of setup in the Premier League that, yes, I don't think many teams, I think there's maybe 3 at the top that can guarantee they're going to be in the Champions League every season. But everybody else is sort of, it's going to be interchangeable. There's going to be times when you do get in and times when you don't get in.
Good point.
One thing I think you do need to make sure is, though, when you're not in the Champions League, you are still in Europe. So you still have that little bit of extra finance coming in.
Well, like I say, if you reckon on there being 8 teams now, the big 6 plus Villa plus us, by and large, there's going to be... We were so unlucky, man, when we finished 7th and still didn't get in the Europe because of the way the fluky results went the other way on.
But there was still
that will not happen again. That was the first time in 10 years, and it'll be 10 years before it happens again.
But I'm saying, do we still class Tottenham as being in the top 6 teams now, in that group? Or is it a top 5 now?
I think because they won the Europa, I'd probably have them in there. But money, they're massive, aren't they, as well? But they're hanging on with a recent performance, like, you have to say. Because under Ange, they looked absolutely disgusting. They brought Thomas Frank in, and you thought, wow, maybe they're going to be half decent. And then they actually look worse, if anything. But they've done all right in the Champions League, so that'll keep them in a job, at least until we play them, and they could be Spursy again, and then we be Newcastle by letting in an overhead kick in the 95th minute from a
that still hurts. I forgot about that, man.
Sorry. Yeah, I need to speak to a therapist.
How many times does that go in?
Yeah, absolutely. But just to move on from Champions League and stuff like that, because I know guys were talking about it a bit earlier as well. Another thing that was mentioned was obviously the centre-back dilemma, with Dan Burn returning to the lineup last night and having an absolutely heroic performance. And only 72 hours left of the window. Newcastle know that Fabian Schär is out until April. We have an injury-prone centre-back as our third centre-back, with Sven Botman in there as well. How dangerous is it? Because Craig Hope has said a deal for a player is about 50-50. How dangerous is it if Newcastle don't bring in a player that can play centre-back? Even if it's just on a short-term loan, because one injury and everything turns around once again, and you're looking at the campaign and thinking, yeah, we're not going to do a lot. So I'll start with you, Win. Could another injury, should I say, be something that unravels the season, and should Newcastle bring in a centre-back before the window closes?
One injury at centre-back. Well, first of all, let's have a think about whether Lascelles is going anywhere.
I'd hope so, but probably not.
well, that's 2 days to go. And you can complain all you like about him, but whenever he's been asked to come in and do a job,
he's done well.
He's done well, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not the end of the world if you are relying on Lascelles. But I would definitely be spending money in this window, and centre half is because of the fact that Schär and Burn anyway have got. Let's be generous and say another full this season plus another full season in their locker at their age. We're going to be needing the centre half anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
So why not bring them in now if we can? And if it means paying a couple of mil over the top, let's do it.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm inclined to agree.
It's a dangerous game to risk. But
sorry, mate. We've got a super chat in from Wazza there, so I'll quickly go into that. But even Big Dan Burn has mentioned the need for defensive backup.
Yep.
Spot on, man. I think
obvious.
Yeah.
Not you was a Big Dan.
I think with one of the things, just with Lascelles there quickly, there's been rumours of him going off to Turkey. Now, the influx of English players going to Turkey over the last 5 years has massively increased. But I think it's one of those where if he's not, the rumour is he's not confident in his body. If he's happy to go to Turkey and play, why can't he play in the Premier League? But it kind of just feels like maybe he just doesn't want to be here anymore. But Kev,
or is it a case of we aren't playing him because we don't want to risk him getting injured in case that would scupper his move? Because these injury reports that we've been getting, even from Howe, have been kind of vague, to say the least.
Yeah.
And yet he's still turning up at the training ground every session.
Yeah, it is an odd one. Kev, what do you think?
I'd love to sign a centre half. Like I said before, when I was agreeing with Bulky, I'd rather just at this point overpay by 10 million if you have to, just to reassure. But I think again, it's tough, isn't it? Because I think as fans, we all want that extra player and that extra kind of support. But when you think as a player, Shaw, I mean, I know he's not back till April, but if Shaw comes back, you've got Shaw, Botman, if he stays fit again, you've got to imagine he stays fit, because what else is the point in having a player if you're just going to assume he's injured all the time and have cover for him in case he is? So you've got to assume eventually in April, Shaw, Botman, Byrne, Chow, Lascelles, and then plus one more, you've got 6 centre-halves, and you're thinking, well, how on earth do we keep them happy? I guess that's Howe's job, I suppose. And it's also, well, if we're not happy, we can sell them in the summer and we get what we want in terms of being selfish. So I'd still rather go down the route of getting somebody in, but I'd also understand if not. And plus, I don't think it's a long-term solution, but Miley has only played there for about 20 minutes, but you could play Miley anywhere at this point. You could play him in goal, you could play him up front. He'd be an absolute unbelievable player anywhere by the looks of it. So it's tough. It depends on the price. If you're getting like a 30%, you're getting ripped off by 30% on top of what they're worth and what you could get them for in the summer, then might be worth a slight gamble, but anything less than that, I would just say overpay and get it. But and I'm sure we'll be complaining that we've overpaid for a player and we can't get an extra player in the summer when we're desperate for a striker reinforcement or something. So very difficult, but yeah, I'd love to see a shot.
What do you think, Bogey?
I would go exactly the same as I said before. I think we should go out and buy it. We should have went out and bought a defender. You can't tell me that in regards to the centre back, if Howe doesn't want one, Howe will want a centre back in. He will want a full back in. So I think the question is, what's Wilson been doing since he's been here? Why haven't we got players lined up or players in place that he's sort of saying to Howe, look, here's your choices. Is there any of these that you want? If not, so when he first came in, why didn't he say to him, looking for each position, give us a profile of the player that you want in that position. I'll go out and I'll get the scouting team, I'll get the coach team things to go out and have a look at those players, and I'll come back with your list, and you tell me what you think of each one. So why hasn't that been the case with it? We know we needed a central defender. Why hasn't that been the case? Because I say, Howe's not going to turn around and say, oh, I don't want a central defender in. So give him some choices and look to get somebody in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of those where, I mean, Howe's quote the other day, we mentioned it, was effectively, even if I wanted to bring a player in, there's no guarantee that he could. The names that have been mentioned, I'll be honest, I haven't heard of them at all. So I am going to do my best here, but the two from Atalanta who've been playing in the place of Scalvini, who was the one we've been linked with for the last year or so, all of a sudden, the two of the other centre-backs in there, Honest, Ahano and Odilon Kusunu, both play, easy for me to say, both play for Atalanta, but apparently we've been scouting the latter since his Leverkusen days, and the form is apparently admired by some of the top clubs in Europe. What I will say is Honest is 17 and playing for a club in Italy. My boss is Italian, and the one thing he always complains about is that Italian clubs don't give young players enough of a chance. So if he's playing in the Champions League at 17, it probably indicates he's a pretty damn good player. But again, I've never seen him or heard of him before in my life. So that's a bit exciting, to be honest, that we're seeing players that, I've not heard of these before. Maybe our scouting network is actually doing something for a change, because we always talk about going to see players from Brazil and stuff like that. But is it a little worrying that we're going for... It's hard to say because after the summer, where we got turned down by everyone, but is it a little worrying that we're going for players that, haven't really got that top-level pedigree like Malik Chow had? Or do you think it's one of those where maybe we're just being a bit more shrewd and we're actually getting players who will want to come to us rather than the likes of what we did with Sheshko, etc. Wayne, what do you think?
As we're talking about Atalanta, the one player who we've been linked with persistently for 2 years,
Scalvini.
Well, no, but apart from Scalvini,
Edison,
yeah, and he's available by all accounts. And he totally fits the number 10 that everybody wants. Ball carrying, tricky feet, shot, reasonable goals return, and apparently he's available now. So I kind of thought we might be getting him before now, but it doesn't look as though we are.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because he's typically played a bit deeper. But since they've moved to, since they've been playing the three at the back, he's sort of been playing. He's given the freedom to go forward as well. A bit like let's say what Joe Linton has given the freedom to do for Newcastle. But again, it's one of the Edison I'd heard of and stuff beforehand, knew about him. These players, I mean, Kusanu's just pretty much signed from Bayer Leverkusen, which is apparently where we scouted him from, and obviously the other lad's 17. So it is. I don't know if it's a really, really good thing that we're scouting players that most people haven't heard of, and they could still be class. Just because I haven't heard of them doesn't mean they're terrible. But I always feel a little bit better when I know they've got a bit of a reputation behind them, like Malik Chow did. Kev, what do you think?
I worry about 17-year-old central defenders, to be honest.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to sign Honest just because of his name. I mean, God, the amount of chance
Honestly?
to create for that. Honestly, like amazing. No, I love the idea of like an unknown player come in and be unbelievable. That's why I love Czech Tiote. Because again, when we signed him, it was like, oh, he's apparently this lunatic from Holland who plays for the Ivory Coast, and he came in and he was an actual lunatic who played in Holland from the Ivory Coast, and we all loved him for it. So I love the idea of that. But then I also look at like the centre-halves with great reputations who aren't moving. So Antonio Silva from Benfica has an amazing reputation, and he hasn't even went to like a Real Madrid or a Barcelona or anywhere like that. Then you've got Diamonde and Inacio, who both play for Lisbon. Again, amazing upcoming reputations, but I'm amazed they haven't moved yet. So I don't know if we're just kind of missing things, but we're not interested in them either. So I'm not sure in terms of these players with reputations across Europe because they're not actually moving anywhere. One who I really wanted last year was Zabani. I think he went to PSG eventually. He didn't play against us last night, so I'm assuming he's injured. But you look at the two centre-halves who did play last night, Marquinhos and Pacho. Zabani's going to take some getting him there. Does he fancy like coming back to England for us? I would, again, it's impossible to know if he's available, but it's worth exploring and asking the question and upsetting the apple cart sometimes. But I think when you look across the Premier League, other than Gahey, who's already went to Man City, I'm not sure of as many centre-halves I would want from other clubs who would be gettable. Obviously, we'd all love Saliba and Gabriel, but again, they're not doable. But in terms of the clubs below us, I don't see any centre-halves and think I really want them. I know Murillo had a great reputation at Forest, but he's fell off a cliff at the minute. And again, the money you would pay for Murillo from Forest would be insane. So yeah, it's tough. I'm probably more inclined to go for them youngsters from abroad and let them develop and become really good for us. Again, they become a sellable asset, which sucks to say as a Newcastle United fan with rich owners, but that's the way the kind of rules are working at the minute, where if you can resell them for a lot of money like we did Isaac, it hopefully helps long term. So yeah, I think that's a sensible route to go down. But yeah, there's still a couple of centre-halves with big reputations in Europe who haven't moved on yet, and I'm thinking,
Yeah, you're completely right. It's like
Tina Tooney saying all central defenders were 17 once.
As were all of we, believe it or not.
I was 17.
I don't think I ever was.
Win was 17 100 years ago.
Oh, where's the jail? Hang on.
I was 17.
Jesus. But yeah, those signings there, obviously, Italian league. Bogey, I want to ask you a little bit of a different question. Obviously, there's been plenty of poor signings from Premier League to Serie A, but do you think, with the scouting that our players have done from players from abroad, most of them have been pretty good. Do you think anyone that comes in from abroad now, you would have a confidence that we've done our due diligence and they would come good for Newcastle?
Almost tempted to say that the scouting of players from abroad over the last season or so has been better than the scouting of players from this country. And you look at the players we've got in. I mean, that's exactly the point I was going to bring up. Sort of, we've bought Premier League proven players throughout Howe's time. In regards to this now, we do need to spread the net And as you say, I think we've got to put trust in the scouting system. You've got to say we've brought Wilson in. He'll be on a hell of a lot of money, and he's been given a hell of a lot of responsibility. So he has to now start to prove himself. So it is a case that scouting network need to go out there. We need to be in every league. We need to be in the Asian leagues. We need to be in the South American leagues. We need to be in the the African leagues. Because when you sign players from different leagues, you get a double whammy. Hopefully, you get a great player, but you also get that new fan base in that country. Because if we're signing a player from there, they're going to be known in that country because they're going to be of a certain level. So, if you're bringing them in, it's going to make that country start to think, oh, who's Newcastle United, and start looking you up like that. So, as I say, you get a double bonus from signing players from other leagues in regards to you get hopefully players that are better priced, and you get players, as I say, that are going to bring in not only themselves but a fan base with them as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ian joining us in the chat. Hello, Ian.
Hello, buddy. How's it going? Caught him off guard there.
I thought after Anthony Gordon came on and was so good for the last half an hour last night, I'd do the same tonight. I thought you might be just flagging after about an hour or so. You'd need your Anthony Gordon
a super
to come on and just pick things up to make sure you see it right through to the end.
All right, take over.
Perfect, man.
You can host for me.
Deal with it in time.
All good, mate. Thank you for joining. Just to sort of continue where I was, Craig Hope finished off with the news that Newcastle United had been offered Kurt Zouma, and said Newcastle weren't interested, which is probably the best transfer news I've heard probably since before the summer, to be honest. Would any of you have taken Zouma on a short term?
Certainly good news for cats in Newcastle, isn't it?
I tell you what, Tina wouldn't be happy. She's a cat lady. She's got some cats.
I think Tina would rather have Kirk Gaiders than Kurt Zouma, to be honest. So.
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, I was surprised he was even mentioned. I'd completely forgot he was on the face of the planet. But yeah, I think just something with Serie A as well. I just want to mention, it's one of those leagues where I do feel like there's been more flops in the Premier League than actual success stories. Scamacca, Koulibaly, Allen are ones that kind of come to mind. But I know it's the same with every division. But it is an interesting one to just see how they would do. And just to go to your Boki's point about fishing the Asian, the African market, stuff like that, because you get the publicity. I'd love to see the shirt sales in Korea with Sung Soo on the back, just because, it's one of those you look at and go, oh, it's a signing for the under-21s. No one's really going to be thinking too much about it. But at the end of the day, if it's anything, if it's a tenth of what's in his career, if it's a tenth of the publicity that Sung Young-min brought into Spurs, you've almost made one of your top signings outside of the first team. Wazza's put in a super chat there as well. Cisse and Bar were brilliant acquisitions at Asda price.
Yeah.
Not wrong at all.
Well, Cisse was a special on his, but again, one hit wonder really. Well, I'm saying one hit, purple patch.
Oh,
Bar
definite
was free
purple
from
patch.
West Ham as well, like a free transfer from West Ham because he failed a medical. Unbelievable from Bar.
Yeah. It's a shame we only got 7 mil from him.
Yeah.
Release clauses.
Cheap at 7, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember Cisse, that second season, it might have even been the third, those 2 late goals against, I think it was Stoke and Fulham.
Oh, all right, yeah.
And the ones in the Europa League as well, absolutely fantastic. I remember the 2 in the league, back-to-back games, terrible games, boring as they come, and then Cisse popped up with 90-minute winners and everyone left happy. But to get back into departures, obviously we've
got a hat trick. He scored, I think, 4 braces, but never a hat trick.
No, Jose Perez was the one to break that duck, wasn't he? For us, which is mental when you consider the gap that we had. But yeah, he's Joe Willock is the one I wanted to basically move on to in regards to outgoings, because I think the main talking point of this window, outgoings-wise, has been Joe Willock, and obviously he was the main talking point last night as the goal scorer. It's said that Eddie Howe would now prefer to keep him, but is he going to... Do you think even if a really good offer came in, let's say, I want to say 20, 25 million, if Palace or Leeds come in 20, 25 million for Joe Willock now, do you think that Newcastle say no? What do you think, Win?
Well, personally, I wouldn't. If I could get 20, 25, I would be running with a wheelbarrow full of money to the bank. Because, seriously, I think if anybody was coming in with offers, they might be coming in around the 15 mark. But as I said last night, might just have upped that a bit.
Yeah,
I don't think he can be trusted. Not just ability-wise, but fitness.
I think you'd take it if you had somebody you wanted to bring in, one of the summer deals that you wanted to bring forward, and you're humming and hawing about it. But then if you got that windfall and you could do it, then that would be a reason to do it. But if there's nobody coming in, there's no point having another 25 in the bank, is there? What point is that?
I think it's one of those.
Tell them in the summer and keep them in the squad with stretch.
But how many times have we said this about Newcastle in recent years? That we've hung on to players for too long.
Exactly.
We haven't known when to sell. With Callum Wilson, with Kieran Trippier was brought up, with Lascelles even, with Miggy.
Yeah, no, I agree with it. I agree with what you're saying. It's just if there's anybody to come in to replace in the squad, because the squad's deeper than it was 2 years ago, fortunately. But it's not.
In regards to that,
certainly.
How many games has Willock played this season? Not a great deal. He's not
single figures.
It's not as if he's a regular starter or anything like that. And I think this is where Wilson and Howe are going to have to sit down and have tough conversations. I think Wilson needs to start saying to Howe, look, you're not keeping hold of players just forever, basically. I know Willock isn't actually an older player, he's only 26, but if you're getting a good offer for a player that he's not putting in the team, he's not a first team player, then I think you have to start saying, look, Eddie, sorry, you're not keeping them, we're selling them. We've had a good offer on the table, the money will go to you in the transfer window, so we're not, kicking you, but we do need to start selling players. I mean, look at over the last few seasons, like Trippier, we could have got some money for. Lascelles, we could have got some money, a little bit of money for. And he just won't do it. He won't move players on when they need to be moved on.
Yeah, we've certainly been guilty of that in the past. Yeah, that's what I mean.
And
it's
time
one of those...
to move Willock on. It is definitely time to move Willock on when he's still got a year and a bit or whatever it is left on his contract.
Yeah, 100%. I think with Forest and West Ham also picking up 2 wins, Forest in the last 3, West Ham back-to-back, it's one of those now where I think you look at it and go, Palace and Leeds might be looking down a lot more than they were expecting to let's say 2 weeks ago, and that might be something where they go, you know what, we need to spend that money and we need to bring a player in. Obviously, they're the 2 that are linked. Palace in maybe the worst run of form I've seen them since De Boer was in, really, and he got sacked after, 6 to 8 games or something like that. So big change going to be needed there, and they've certainly got the money, with players leaving, people coming in and stuff. So yeah, but just a little stat there for Willock as well. Sorry, go on.
Well, I was going to just give you a little stat about Willock as well, just because you're asking. 241 minutes he's played in the Premier League this season.
Jesus.
That's an out, is it? So if you can get £25 million for a player that's played what?
2 and a half games.
2.5 games. Sure enough, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think contract-wise, it's the right thing to do, and minutes-wise, it is. But what worries me is if he was to go now, and I mean, I know Bruno's back imminently, isn't he? And Joe Linton's apparently 2 weeks, but get like a long-term injury to 2 of them, or a mid-term injury to 2 of them, you're left with, I think, Ramsey, Miley, and the one who didn't get injured then you've got nobody on the bench, I guess, if you're playing for him. But we could change system, and you're right. If he's only got 200 odd minutes, it's definitely worth 25 million. But I think if it's closer to 15, it's a harder decision. But I guess again, it's not a lot of minutes, so it would make sense, especially contract-wise, because if he goes into the summer with 1 year left on his contract, you're not getting that money. It's going to be even less than 15. So I would probably sell him now as well if that money came in. But it's just, I'm always cautious with Newcastle because of injuries. It wouldn't surprise us if 2 of them got crocked, and then you've got 3 fit central midfielders to the end of the season.
But I think the other point to make is as well is I don't think Willock's on a cheap contract. I'm sure when we're signing him, is he on about 80 grand a week, 80 grand a week or something?
Yeah, something like that.
And it's been extended.
I think it's one of those as well. Just the little stat I was going to give is actually Joe Willock's current spell of fitness is his longest since the hamstring injury he picked up in 2022-23. He's been fit for 154 days, apparently, without picking up an injury.
Because he hasn't played. I'd be
Probably, yeah.
I'd be fit if I was on the bench and play 15 minutes at half time.
Actually, you're right, Bogey. 80 grand a week he's on and a 20 bonus.
Jeez.
So potential 100 grand a week.
Yeah, so, well, my point there was Joe Willock's the fittest he's been since that good season. Is it one of those where you can sit there and go, we can give him 4 more months and hold out to the summer? Or if someone comes in, is it just a case of the physio will be a lot less busy, let's do it for that reason, because Bunce might calm down a little bit as well. But I think we should maybe... It's a hard one because I like Willock. I think he brings something a bit different. We saw that last night. When he is fit, he is a good player, but we don't see it enough. But what I will say, I've been more impressed with Willock on his starts this season than I have been from Ramsey. And Ramsey's been good the last few games, but every single time Joe Willock, I said it last night, every single time Joe Willock has started a game for us, he's looked good. Every time he's come off the bench, he's probably been the worst player on the park. But when he starts, he does seem to be pretty decent for us. So I'd maybe be tempted to give him an extra 4 months personally. But I do agree if 25 million comes in, given our record with selling players, it is kind of a no-brainer. And when you look at the job we've got in the summer, how many players we're going to have to bring in, every penny is going to help. A player that might help PSR quite a bit, or whatever it's going to be called, SSR or whatever it is, at the end of the season. Apparently, Lascelles is also attracting strong interest from Marseille, who got knocked out of the Champions League last night. Haha, to all those that gloated when they beat her. But the Newcastle have admitted it would take a very good offer to make us sell in this window. After all of the talk from the summer with the Isaac saga, Osula being linked in with that, being the one that apparently had voiced a bit of discontent over it, the way the season's gone for him, and the fact that we are getting bids in, does it kind of feel like William Osula's Newcastle United career is as good as over? What do you think, Win?
I don't even know whether I would like him to go, or do I think there's enough there to want him to stay? And I think I'm tending towards the latter. What I've seen of him, when he has looked like he can actually provide the team with something, it's largely because what he gives you is chaos. It is different to when he comes on, when we've been banging my head against the door. He comes on and he does give you something different.
He does.
But is that difference reliable? Is it convertible into something that's going to long term? I don't know. I think if we can make money off Osula, I would definitely take it. If we can get 30 million for him, definitely take it.
Okay, so 1 in the sell column. Bogey, what are you thinking?
Do you know, I've forgot about Osula a little bit, but he's probably, I've been on about having like a maverick type of player. And he's probably one of the ones in the squad, the one player in the squad that is that type of player. As Win says, if you chuck him on, you never know what he's going to do. which is
neither the rest of the team, though. That's the issue.
neither the rest of our team, but neither did the opposition either. So, for me, I would keep him. To be honest, if we're not going to get anybody in, we've got to keep him. We can't go into the second half of the season with just the two strikers again. So for me, it's even for 30 million, his price isn't going to go down that much. He's only a young lad, so you're still going to get that sort of money in the summer anyway. So for me, you just keep hold of him. And if he gets a few, you never know, if he gets a few chances and starts banging them in, his price might shoot up. So
yeah, always the chance of getting more from him if he does stay. What
And
do you
if
think,
he
Kev?
and he steps up and comes good, what have you lost? There's that way to look at it. This is why January is such a dodgy window, because every other club with similar players are in the exact same position. They're thinking,
what do we do?
You've got to make it worth their while, but to get, and that's why the prices go.
Yeah, absolutely. Kev, what do you think about Osula?
I'd keep Osula mainly for the chant. It's brilliant. But on a serious note, I'd probably keep him till the summer. I agree with Boki. His value isn't going to go down. And I'd be a hypocrite if I said get rid of him, because I've been calling for that player who you just have no idea what he's going to do, and he'll frustrate the life out of you, but also pick you up some points. And I also think with Osula, he's completely different to everything we've got which can play in that position. I think it was Fulham when he came off the bench. He wasn't even fully fit, but he just got the ball, sprinted at the defence. He didn't get a shot off, but everyone panicked, and the ball fell to Bruno, and he got a tap in pretty much, and that got us the win. And he just causes mass panic. He's like a Labrador with ADHD, isn't he? He's everywhere. So it's a case of, let's keep him for now. Let's maybe give him some minutes. And if he gets a couple of goals, you can make a nice little profit off him. But also, if he gets a couple of goals, you've got a decision to make in terms of, well, actually, a little bit like John Duran at Villa. Remember, Duran came in, it was a bit of a, like, nobody knew what was going to happen. And then John Duran scored goals, and all of a sudden he's like, I'm not sitting on the bench. I was like, okay, well, we'll get loads of money for you. So let's let him make that decision by putting himself in good form if he starts banging goals in. But yeah, I'd definitely keep Osula until the end of the season, definitely.
Yeah, if we can get 70-odd million for him as well off Saudi, and then, yeah, he got to Turkey afterwards.
Imagine
that
the carnage of a Premier League if we did that. We had to sell Maxi for like 15 million just so people didn't question us.
That was weird, man, because this is a thing that, when people question Piff's commitment, because why could they not have done that?
Yeah.
Well, because it'd be absolute hell on if they tried to.
Yeah.
It's like even trying to loan Ruben Neves.
Mr. Nice Guy.
Went into meltdown.
Why haven't we done the thing with the ladies' team as well, like the likes of Aston Villa did and Chelsea did?
I think we're trying to maximise value there, to be fair.
Saudis can't sell a women's team, will come because of the human rights and women's rights. Anyway, imagine if they come in and sell a women's team. It'd be absolute hell. I mean, for me, I don't personally care, because like if other clubs are doing it, then I 100% agree. Do it. However, for me, it's a case of like, don't know who's in the background, but you can have a head up.
Lara wanted you to know that she would keep Osula as well.
Another one for the keep column.
But yeah, the Saudis can't sell a women's team, because imagine we're uproar in, like we can't win, can they? But personally, I'd say do it. I'd also say give us Ronaldo, give us anybody, but it's never going to happen.
You've got to wait till the ladies get promoted to the.
Exactly, you've taken the words out of my mouth.
Then you get 3 or 4 times.
I bet you still don't do it. I bet you there's no chance of Saudi selling a women's team in England. It'd be carnage.
We'll take them to Saudi first and then sell them.
On Osula, by the way, I would keep Osula. Osula, not just to sit on the bench and come on for 10 minutes to create the chaos. I know you can do that, but what you can also do, which I've not seen Voltemada or Wissa do regularly, is put his head on a ball from a corner, get on the end of some of these very successful crosses and actually guide his header in. He scored 2 headers, hasn't he? And he's out of a very, very limited sample size to see what he can do during a game. He's a big, powerful lad. Apart from being fast and creating the chaos, he's good in the air as well. I mean, we haven't seen him since he's done his summer's training, really. He got a bad ankle and he limped through a few games at the start of the season. We've not seen what he's developed into yet. And I think there must be something there for Villa to want him and the Germans to want him.
Frankfurt, yeah.
We haven't seen it yet. I like him. I want him to have at least till the end of the season to show us what he can do. I want Howe to put him on. He didn't bring him on again.
I suppose the other side of the coin is as well. Can he do much worse than the two strikers we've been playing all season?
This is the point I'm making.
Yeah.
You know, there'll be some games where we are going to put a lot of crosses in. Lascelles is probably better than the other two to get on the end of them, to be fast enough to keep up with the pace and be in the box to get his head on a few crosses. It all depends on what's been offered.
What was I saying? Why not?
I think that might be about the ladies' team.
I
wanted to wind Tina up, but not going that far. But to get back on track, Ian, I think you. Cheers, wasn't it? Ian, I think you are exactly right. To be honest, I think he's all are. Osula, he didn't really do enough at the start of the season, but the two players that have come in haven't exactly done a lot either. So, West, we're damned if we do, we damned if we don't, really.
Volter's done all right. I feel like I need to defend Volter.
I was going to say, actually, they haven't
been great recently, but I feel like, again, 10 goal contributions isn't fantastic, but first season, I think he's already topped Isaac's first season in terms of contributions, and it's just we haven't got anybody to fall back on. When he's not in the team, we've got a Wissa and Wissa frustrates the life out of me. I wanted Wissa before the summer. I was I'd love to have him at Newcastle, but then I don't know if it's a confidence thing, but when the ball's out wide, he's running behind both centre halves. When you watch him, you've either got to stay as a striker in between both centre halves, so if it misses the first one, you're next in line, or you've got to make a run across the first centre half so that it drags a bigger gap so the left winger or right winger, depending on which way you've ran, can come in behind you and hopefully grab a goal. But when the ball's out wide, Wissa's running behind both centre halves, and I'm like, is it a confidence thing? Is he just not backing himself? But in terms of, Baltimore has slowed down in goals, but when he first came, he hit the ground running. And I think it's just now that he's kind of got competition and he's a young lad and he's finally probably adapting to the country and all that stuff, I think Volter's still done okay. I'd probably give him a solid 6 in terms of his signing so far. But I think Volter's got a lot more potential than Wissa, just because from what I'm seeing from Wissa is he doesn't want the ball when the ball's out wide.
Baltimore is also 6-7 years or younger, isn't he? So he's obviously going to have a bit more.
But I just mean in terms of getting better by the end of the season. By the end of the season, I think Volter's going to get more than Wissa.
Can I just quote somebody that's sitting on the panel tonight from earlier in the season? Wissa, when he comes in, he's going to be with silver bullet. Everything will be sorted when we get Wissa back.
Lots of time. Really gets fully.
He'll score loads of goals. I think you said 20 plus, didn't you?
Oof.
He's not getting 20 plus.
Don't think he's going to have 20 plus shots.
For me, it's just looking at movement, and I think movement for a striker is massively important, and it's frustrating that he's running behind both centre halves. I don't know if that's a tactic from the coaching team. I'll be amazed if it is, because striker 101, stay between the centre halves. Striker 102, run front post to stretch them. Unless it's for... And then there was a moment, actually, where running to the back post against PSG would have been the right thing to do when Gordon had the ball left, and he ran into the middle. And I was like, that was your one time to do your usual movement, and you did. So for me, looking at that, it's more of a confidence thing. It's he doesn't want the ball because he's worried about missing or something. So I don't know. Maybe he'll come good the more he plays and the more confidence he gets. And I'm not against Wissa at all. I'd love to see him succeed, but right now I'd be starting Volter, just because, again, we've seen that although it was early on in his career, he can get goals and cause problems, even though he is a bit out of form as well at the minute.
But you're on about Wissa's movement and positioning, but it was exactly going to back post that he missed them, but he was there to miss them against Man City. When he had
it's left central, but that was a different area. I'm talking about when we've got the ball and we've got the ball out wide to cross it in. The cross is about to come in. Any striker knows you stay in between the centre halves or you run near post. It's very rare you go back post because you're giving two centre halves a chance before you even get an opportunity. But you're right, at the right time, like PSG, it was the right time to do it, but he didn't do it. So that's what makes me think he's making runs to cause chaos rather than making runs to get on the end of it because he's not confident. I'm hoping when the confidence comes back, he starts making runs to get on the end of it and he starts getting the goals. But for me, when I watch him live, it's just very frustrating in terms of trying to see why that decision has been made for that movement, where, again, Volter at the minute isn't in great form, and I can concede that. But at least when the ball's coming in, he's not great in the air, which is mental for a 6'7" striker. Still can't get my head around that. But at least he's in between the centre halves and at least causing havoc in that way, and then maybe creating space for somebody else. So that's why for me, Volta's a bit better at the minute. But I still think this is a good player, and I loved him before he came to us. I'm hoping it's just a confidence thing and coming back from injury, and then he'll start making runs to get on the end of it. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think for me, it's one of those. Anyone that watches the player ratings, shout out to me and Ian. But whenever it gets to Voltamada, I have a thing at the minute where I do how many touches does it take for Voltamada to lose the ball today, and on the last 3 games, he has lost the ball with every third touch. I think PSG was actually pretty much better, but in the 2 games before that, I think he'd had a combined total of like 20 touches and lost the ball 7 times. And it's one of those. Don't get me wrong, I don't like Wissa and I don't like Voltamada. But Wizza has got a super chat in there.
It wasn't a silver bullet against Villa's Emery. He certainly wasn't.
He could be off to Real Madrid now as well, so we'll see. We could see what Aston Villa do after that. Maybe they'll come in for Eddie Howe, and definitely they'll just go pear-shaped and turn on his head. But I'd love the chaos that comes.
We end up mid-table with like, oh no.
I'd love to see the conversations in the forum, to be honest. I think it'd be really entertaining. I probably wouldn't like the football, but I'd be entertained at least. And that's more than I have been in a lot of games this season. But just to sort of finish up, obviously we mentioned
I'm amazed Real Madrid are not looking at Eddie.
Ooh. Why would Real Madrid go for Eddie Howe?
Why wouldn't they?
Does there need someone that's won more than one trophy?
He's won a trophy and he's got with the Champions League in 2 seasons. Have you not been watching an argument for the last full season?
I think in context, what he's done is amazing, but in context at Real Madrid, it's not enough.
Xabi Alonso's just been sacked for.
Could you tongue firmly in cheek, by the way?
I know.
I'm still defending how I'm saying it's about the environment and stuff. I love a bloke too much.
Could you imagine Eddie Howe together with Kylian Mbappe, though?
Oh,
I mean, I don't think anyone can, to be fair. His ego's through the roof.
He'll convert him into a midfielder. That's what he does. Sent for.
I'd love to see him at left back.
Would be the best midfielder in history.
Hey, he could be decent, we never know. But, just onto outgoings. Obviously, we know that Willock, and Lascelles are the ones that are rumoured. Doesn't really look like anything's going to happen. And an incoming, as mentioned, was 50-50 apparently. At the bottom of the article, there was really something that I didn't like. And I'll be honest, I hated the sound of it. And it involves Real Madrid, actually. It was in regards to AZ Alkmaar's Kees Smit, who obviously we've been apparently looking at, and the transfer fee is apparently 50 million, which I don't think we'll spend. But Craig Hope was saying that the likely pitch that Newcastle will give to Smit is as a stepping stone to Real Madrid. To say, if you want to get to Real Madrid, Newcastle is a great way to do that.
I don't think that's a bad idea, because every club's a selling club to Real Madrid. Every club's a selling club to Real Madrid.
I'm not spending 50 million on a player with the promise of, by the way, we'll flog you to Real Madrid, who don't like spending money.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying 50 million, because bear in mind, when the Kees Smit saga first began, it was 22 million euros.
Newcastle taxing it.
So, well,
once Newcastle come in, the price goes up because I think we've got loads of money. But I don't mind the whole step. If it was like a stepping stone and will allow a top 6 or Champions League club, I'd hate that, because I'd be like, well, hang on a minute. We should be aiming to be a Champions League club regularly, so I'm not happy with that clause. But if it's a clause to go to like Real Madrid, every club in the world, whether they like it or not, is a stepping stone or a selling club to Real Madrid or Barcelona, because once a team like that comes in, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We could lose any of our players to them. Well, there's lots we can't lose to them because we're not good enough. But like, again, I love Bruno and I love his commitment. He's an adopted Geordie. But like, if Real Madrid come in, I wouldn't begrudge them going, because it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to play for the biggest, most recognisable club in world football, isn't it? So as long as it's only Real Madrid or Barca, I don't mind it. If it's to a Champions League club, I'd be raging.
I think for me, it's the signing with it being, oh, by the way, we're just a stepping stone. You'll be able to leave with the knowledge that, you know, Real Madrid aren't spending big money on players these days. If we want 80 million, I don't think they're going to spend it. Sorry, Bogey, I cut you off.
No, that's fine, mate. I was just going to say, I don't mind players having contracts. Well, I think it's a good idea for them to have contracts where they've got buyout clauses. So you know they've got a certain amount that they can go for. But I don't think you bring them in saying, we're a stepping stone to this club or that club for you. It's sort of, we'll put it in the contract, which all clubs do now, just about. You know, if a bigger club comes in for you, or if any club comes in for you, and the bid so much, you can talk to them. But it certainly should be a case of, we'll get you ready for this particular club or that. We're not a stepping stone club. You know, we don't want to get into that situation.
Similar discussions in the past, have we not? When I said it's only a matter of time before all players have a sell-on clause.
Yeah.
And the value of the sell-on clause is reflected in what they're getting paid. There'll be a direct correlation between how much your wage is. Because if you're a club and you're saying, we're going to pay you 30 grand a week, but we're going to put £100 million sell-on clause, you know, the two do not equate. So gradually these things will come together, and there'll be almost a ratio between wages and sell-on clause.
When there's a difference between that and saying that you're getting a player ready for a certain other club, or you're the stepping stone to that certain other club.
I think we always are, aren't we?
I think that could be a selling
point. There's no chance of Smith going to be born in Holland and think, I'm going to play for Newcastle one day. He's grown up thinking, I want to play for Real Madrid. So I get Borky's got a point in terms of don't sell it that way, but it might not have been sold that way. It could just be a case of, we'll put a clause in there where if one of these come in, but Borky's right in what he's saying in terms of, I don't think it would have happened anyway, but you don't say, well, sign for us and we'll get you to play for Real Madrid. But it'll be a case of, well, if you do come to us, we've got no problem kind of letting you go to Real eventually, if that's where you want to get to, but you'll come here and you'll make us a lot of success first, and then we won't stand in your way. You might fall in love with a tune like Bruno did, who knows, or Joe Linton, but I think most players, again, if we're honest, I think we are all different because we grew up supporting Newcastle, and our dream is probably to get there and think that's it. But there's no chance of Smith like, well, I want to play for Newcastle one day. But I know what Boatie's saying though, in terms of don't say it that way. Yeah.
What I was saying is I hate the idea of us pitching, you'll go to Real Madrid if you come to us.
I'll be amazed if that happened though.
Exactly a point, Michael.
100%. But I think if it's one of those where we have, as you mentioned, the clause of, what if we want 100 million for you? We'll sell you for like 60 to Real Madrid or something like that. You know, something where if they come in for you, they get you cheaper than others do. I know City have had that with a few players, Trafford being one of them. So do something like that. That's absolutely fine. I don't mind that. But just the idea of pitching to a player, by the way, come to us and we'll make sure you get to Real Madrid, didn't really sit right with me. But there is also maybe the chance of that is our best chance of getting youngsters of that high quality. Because let's be honest, they're not coming for the training facilities at the minute, or the youth academy, or the fact that youngsters are used in the first team squad, are they? So
well, it's important to sign Douglas Luiz. You'll have a lot of players wanting to come to us if that's the case.
Moving swiftly. It's going to be one of those where in the summer, only Fabian Schär's likely to stay in Newcastle with a new contract, or at least likely to be offered. Whether he accepts it or not, let's be honest. Wasn't very happy after he got dropped after the Barcelona game. He's had a bit more game time now in the squad, a little bit more consistently since he came back. Maybe, just maybe, he will want to stay, but Newcastle are going to let Kieran Trippier, Emil Kraft, Jamal Lascelles, John Ruddy, Mark Gillespie, Aaron Ramsdale, technically even though he's a loan, and Matt Targett's contracts are all going to run out. Now, obviously, I mentioned Rambo's a loan, but I'm looking at the summer there, and I'm thinking even before we look at the players we need to improve, position-wise. There's at least 5 players we need to bring in to replace those players. So how much do Newcastle actually have to do in the summer? We'll start with you, Win. How many players do you think we're actually going to need to buy in the summer?
When we started this season, I looked at the squad and said, as Borky will attest, it's the best squad we've ever had. Now, I don't know if you'll agree with that or you won't agree with that, but I'm talking about the full squad. If you remember, at the time, we had Ramsdale and Pope in goal. We had Kraft, Trips, Tino, right back. We had Chow, Botman, Lascelles, Byrne, centre back.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Target and Hall, left back, with Byrne capable of playing there, Trips capable of playing there, Tino capable of playing there. Back 4, completely solid. In midfield, we had Bruno, Tonali, and
Joey.
J7,
No.
and Willock, and Miley, and we backed that up with Ramsey, who at the time looked like good. All good.
Yeah.
Right wing, we had Murphy, and we brought in Alanga. On the face of it, Murphy had a brilliant season. Alanga had a brilliant season. 2 good right wingers. Barnes and Gordon fighting on the left. 2 brilliant left wingers. And Walter and Wissa and Asula up front. I can't think of any time when we've had a squad that deep with that much quality in inverted commas.
I mean,
so
I'm inclined to agree.
And we've seen that even with that squad, injuries can bugger you up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now then, if out of all that, we're then going to start selling Asula, Willock, Target, and who's the other one?
Trippier will be gone.
Trip probably Ramsdale. Is Ramsdale going to stay? Are we going to confirm that alone?
Go as well, yeah.
So there's 5 we're going to have to replace straight away. That's before we even think about improving it. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. The only, to be honest, I don't know if anyone can think of any others. The only year where I can think we actually maybe had a squad that was of that same quality is probably 96, 97. I mean, I don't know what the likes of Des Hamilton,
defenders were kind of poor. Like, but what about
but remember
Robson's?
Then only 3 subs.
True.
And you didn't have the number of games that we've got now, and the energy levels that we've got now, and all to do with that.
I think Robson came up. Go on, Bogey.
The reason Wynne came up with we had the argument about this was because Wynne was saying it's the best squad ever, but I was saying we could have improved the team. So yes, I never disagreed it was the best squad, but I says during the transfer window we didn't bring in players positions to improve the team. So the likes of the big one was J7 needed to be, in my opinion, at that point needed to be starting to be replaced. And I says if we bring somebody better in for the likes of J7. You know, you then J7 becomes your bench player, so you've improved the bench as well. Whereas Wynne was going, no, you need to improve your bench players. And you're going, well, not really. If you bring in players in, you need to improve the team, and then as part of that, you naturally improve your bench.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of those you can improve it by improving the team. You can improve by bringing in squad players. I think we've
I've
maybe
never
done
actually
more.
disagreed with that. My point then was we haven't got the money. If we are going to absolutely replace any of our first 11, we'll call it, you're looking straight away at a minimum 80 million, probably 100 million to replace it. So then you can only buy, let's go stupid and say you can buy 2.
Yeah.
And you've got the other ones getting older and getting flogged on.
Is that not part of the what we were saying earlier in the show as well? We're leaving ourselves a massive job to do in the summer. Why haven't we made a little start on it in this window, sort of bringing 1 or 2 defenders in, which we need, and we know we need anyway in the summer? Why haven't we sort of started the process now? It would give you sort of a setup for this season, and then it gives you a kick on in the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. I am inclined to agree. Obviously, we've got to.
It's just a tough time to buy people, isn't it? Yeah. They know they've got to have to make their cloth, cut their cloth, stretch their money, and they cannot. You can't over. I mean, that's the truth of it is that they've squandered their ability to do that by overpaying for Wissa and Voltemada, in my view.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think we overpaid, but I think we probably needed to in the summer, to be honest. And I think we're going to need to.
But that's why. I mean, I know you're talking about Willock going and everything, but prepare for Gordon going to get the cash in to be able to rebuild the team, for example, or Toon Army.
Yeah, so.
That's what we need to. We need to trade to get the cash in, and we need to be doing that regularly. Which would make what they're saying to try and bring Keith Smith in, couldn't have 2 years in the Premier League, and then Real Madrid will think you're a much more complete player, if that's what they said. Then that's because they're setting him up to trade him on, and we have to trade. It's no good saying we don't want to be a selling club. Everybody's a selling club. They need to be able to keep the quality of the ever increasing prices of the players that we bring in. I don't think we need to spend 80 quid on every person to replace the first team.
If we could spend 80 quid, I'd be happy.
80 million, sorry. But,
say me for 80 quid for one.
I think if you're looking to find players to sit on the bench and come on and learn the trade at 2021, in a way that Sunderland somehow found 13 of them last summer, I think there's bargains out there. You don't spend anywhere near that. Their whole team cost 160 million, which is what 280 million players cost us, and they got 13. So, I'm not meaning I'm jealous of Sunderland's players. I'm not, but you've got to agree that they found some real bargains in France.
Yeah, they have. There's some decent players there. They've done well. We'll see how it does in the second season as well. I've just had it sent through to us there by Connor. Thank you, mate. It's confirmed that Alex Murphy will not be leaving Newcastle United on loan, as it is believed that he will be cover for the first team for the remainder of the season, which tells me there's probably knee knacker coming in over the next few days. But we're going to wrap it up. We're going to finish there. Going to get a quick number from the 4 of you. How many players do Newcastle need to sign in the summer? Win, I'll start with you.
5.
Bogey?
7.
Kev?
4.
Ian?
7. Yeah, 5. 5 to replace the people who are leaving, and then you want to upgrade Willock, and you want to upgrade Murphy.
Yep, I absolutely agree. I'd say 7 or 8 myself. Thanks everyone for listening to the show. I know it's getting a bit late. We're into the end of it there. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you click the like button, hit the subscribe button as well, so you don't miss a minute. And obviously, do not forget to become a member, because you get some incredible perks with that. Not included, well, actually, not only, should I say, my and Ian's player ratings show. There's plenty more coming after that. So for now, it's goodbye, but no doubt you'll be able to see our faces tomorrow.
How it the lads.
Lasses and Bairns.